reconvening for item 10. This is advancing regional actions to address the Tijuana River sewage crisis. I'll just kick us off with some opening comments, and then we will go to public comment. I'm bringing this forward today because the sewage crisis is not just an environmental issue, it is a public health emergency that we have spent the last 4 years focused on tackling. I hear constantly from families in my district and across the South Bay about kids that are getting sick, beaches that are closed, and it's been a very big step forward that Congress delivered $650 million to fix the sewage treatment plant. But the construction will take years and is not going to address the full scope and scale of the problem. We need a county level plan that meets this moment, clear, strategic, and ready to go when funding opens up. That's what this item does. It lays out a roadmap of actions we can take to protect health. This includes a long-term epidemiological health study on hydrogen sulfide exposure, matching funds to upgrade school air systems, infrastructure fixes at toxic hotspots like Saturn Boulevard, a full regional economic impact analysis, a county sewage crisis chief to lead coordination, and a board subcommittee to keep momentum and oversight. This does not commit funds today. It positions us to act quickly when resources become available. Our communities have carried this burden for far too long, and the purpose of this 5-point plan is to put us in a position to continue leading on tackling the sewage crisis. So would be grateful for my colleagues' support on this item. I'll make a motion, and then I will turn it over to public comment, and then we can have a board discussion. Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 13 requests to speak on item 10, 5 in person, and 8 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 9 e-comments, 8 of those in support and 1 in opposition. For any individual that requested to speak on item 10 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. Because there are 10 or more speakers on this item, you will have 1 minute to address the board. And I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the first 3 individuals, Rudy H., Charles Reilly, and allegedly Audra. I'll call additional speakers as well, Mark and Marco Espinosa. If I've called your name, please come forward.
This is Charles Reilly. I am here on behalf of the 12,000 members and over 28,000 supporters of the San Diego chapter of the Sierra Club. We are here because we are here in support of Vice Chair Lawson-Remer's board item to advance actions to address the environmental crisis. Sierra Club San Diego supports the evaluation of the recommended regional actions to address the Tijuana River sewage crisis. Designated a county sewage crisis chief to coordinate all these different actions is an applaudable step, and we appreciate the move being made for more coordination. We also support both the public health and economic impact studies to continue to bring hard data to the impacts that the issue has on our communities. We have seen firsthand the effects of the air pollutants on our South Bay communities and support any efforts to limit air pollution and study the effects that this sewage crisis is having on our community. We also ask that the county work with all agencies, in conjunction with all agencies, including the San Diego Air Pollution Control District, to address this public health crisis. We support directing the Chief Administrative Officer to evaluate the programmatic options that have been discussed and for the county to develop strategic recommendations identifying which initiatives the county.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. If I've called your name, please come forward. Rudy H., allegedly Audra, Marco Espinosa.
Hello, good afternoon. I online said neutral only because I didn't know what A72 was, and I tried finding it, but anyway, whatever. Obviously, I'm totally in favor of anything and all efforts for the cleaning up Tijuana River Valley. That's why I put neutral online. And hello to the sheriff. I've never, well, other than that one day, but I want to shake your hand either today or in 2 months at the not next month's SANDAC because it got canceled, but the one after that, the committee. Anyway, yeah, thank you very much. Have a good day.
If you could please state your name for the audio record.
Marco Espinosa.
Thank you. Now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We will begin with our first caller.
Paul Bogue. still advancing, eh? And gosh, I hope the feds don't start clawing back the money for TJ Fix, or we might actually have to rely on our own resources rather than dialing for dollars every time something happens, like Mayor Guerra and so many others. And I'm not sure how much government should be involved since it has been pretty dysfunctional this far. Note Sandag contributing toll revenue that would reduce what was promised to SD County regions, which now badly need transit improvements funded by those tolls. And I'm glad someone finally recognized the importance of catching trash beyond barriers, which were there some years ago. If only we had handheld pollution monitors to zero in on the pollution like I suggested, it would be greatly reduced by now. Accurate data and monitoring it.
Next caller. Next speaker is Consuelo. Your device might be muted.
Consuelo here. How many years have we brought you real options only to be ignored? This isn't just incompetence, it's willful negligence. People are sick. I look forward to Paloma taking that seat. Her epic failures as mayor of IB are a warning sign of what happens when a sweet smile hides corruption. You might come off as gentle, Paloma, but the truth is you're just another establishment shill. And now we're just supposed to trust you to step into county leadership? No thanks. The crisis has been dragged on for decades because this system isn't here to solve problems. It's here to manage public perception, waste taxpayers' money, and distract people from the global agenda being played outright under their noses. Wake up, San Diego County. They don't work for us, and they never will. You got the seat in the bag, Paloma. We know that. Done.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Hi, good afternoon. My name is Bethany Case. I'm the program manager for Clean Border Water Now for the San Diego chapter of Surfrider. We support the evaluation of recommended regional actions to address the Tijuana River sewage crisis. The Tijuana River is the second most endangered river in the U.S., according to the American Rivers 2025 ranking. This is the most critical environmental and public health crisis in the nation today and has been for decades. As an Imperial Beach resident, my family's been living with the impacts of this crisis, and we have experienced health issues because of it. And I wonder what will happen to my son, who at 13 has spent his entire education within a mile and a half of the Saturn Boulevard hotspot and will be closer in high school. Not only can we not use most of our outdoor recreation spaces, but we have to be cautious when being outside at all. The multiple areas of impact must be understood and resources must be designated to help mitigate this crisis. We support the solutions that will fix, prevent, and heal the pollution and polluted areas in the community.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
Hi, my name is Ramon Chaires, and I serve as the Director of Education and Environmental Advocacy for Umar de Colores. We support the evaluation and advancement of the recommended regional actions to address the Tijuana River sewage crisis. We also speak on behalf of the tens of thousands of residents who live alongside the river valley in San Isidro, Nestor, and Imperial Beach, and the neighboring communities bearing the impacts of this tri-national crisis. As an organization teaching kids how to both care for themselves and for our natural spaces through surfing, we've witnessed the toll this crisis has taken on public health, mental well-being, and access to safe outdoor spaces. We urge the county to support annual assessments of cross-border wastewater infrastructure and to ensure transparency and accountability in long-term planning. For too long, families in the Tijuana River Valley have lived downwind of neglect, breathing in toxic air and living beside environmental hazards that would not be tolerated elsewhere. Hydrogen sulfide isn't just a foul smell, it's a toxic gas that with chronic exposure can damage the nervous system, cause...
Thank you. I'd like to invite forward the remaining speakers in person, allegedly Audra and Mark. Of 1 minute to address the board.
My person uses the name Audra, so it's sad that we, want to do, obviously you want to do studies, but this has been a decades and decades and decades long process. And, to create these other positions that you think are going to, help the situation when we won't engage with Mexico the way that we should. All we care about is the commerce. And so you're talking about binational collaboration. Well, we shouldn't have to spend $650 million to upgrade a facility to process this. But instead of actually going to the culprits, it's like nobody's doing that on a basis of saying, like, we need you to stop shitting in our yard, but we're going to process it, and then we're going to get it back as pure water, I'm sure, right? Like clean water, which is totally BS. But this should have been taken care of a long time ago, and it's sad that people are suffering and potentially have to leave their homes for a minute.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, so yeah, obviously you should have taken care of this a long time ago, and it's absurd that it wasn't. The Mexican government, I don't know if you said you want to sue them, Tara. Why didn't you do it a long time ago? You should, if that can even be done to a separate sovereign government. Matching funds to protect kids from toxic air, including filtration and HVAC. Yeah, I guess that's a good idea, but again, should have solved the problem. Launching an epidemiological study, that's absurd. What, study them as they die? We already know hydrogen sulfide's poisonous. Infrastructure matching funds to eliminate hotspots. Yeah, it's good to mitigate aerosolization. Economic impact study, again, what, study them as they die. Designate a county sewage crisis chief. What's he going to do you haven't already done? And coordinate binational collaboration. I don't think that's within your scope of power. Isn't that the federal government, congressional?
Thank you. Now hear from the final caller.
It's truth. Someone now trying to recover from yet another asthma bout from the sewage. Most of this political plan is irrelevant and is nothing more than the current mayor of IB going behind the city's back, as always, to campaign on a crisis. For that reason, I support none of this item. There's nothing about holding Mexico accountable. And there's a pattern of Democrats not supporting real solutions. Why is Mexico funding their campaign? Does anyone really believe we need to waste more tax dollars on more studies? Does APCD really need more tax dollars to buy air purifiers that don't work and when they cancel pickup dates for them at the last minute? Does the county really need to waste more tax dollars on government bureaucracy with a ridiculously named sewage crisis chief? Is Tara creating Paloma's future job to get paid more than her current gig of pretending to be a mayor when she runs out on meetings? Trade money flows while Mexico's sewage is allowed to flow at record rates. If Mexico isn't hit in their pocketbooks, they'll never stop. No any more of these political games by Paloma and Tara, who put it on the agenda for her, on the back of IB residents. No to this nonsense.
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, Supervisor Montgomery Steppe.
Thank you so much, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, for bringing this item forward. We have all acknowledged repeatedly this environmental and public health emergency has been going on for far too long. The analysis that would be performed by the county with the passage of this item represents, in my mind, a solid and actionable steps forward that the county can take to protect our residents while also setting ourselves up for further actions down the road. What is listed in this board item, including the robust analysis on the potential health impacts for our residents and economic impacts to local businesses, I think is prudent. This data will inform how we move forward if the federal EPA does not deliver on the swift action that they have promised in resolving this issue. Again, hoping for the best, planning for the worst here. Thank you again for bringing this item forward, and I will second the motion.
Supervisor Dem-Desmond.
I appreciate the attention being given to this Tijuana River crisis. It needs attention, but it needs fixing. And unfortunately, I think these are all Band-Aids. Nothing in this item addresses the root cause of raw sewage and industrial waste coming from Mexico. If they weren't polluting our country, we wouldn't have toxic air at schools or toxic hotspots. Concerning the recommended public health impact study, we don't need any more studies. Nor do we need a sewage crisis chief. We know what the problem is. I brought an agenda item forward in a meeting or two ago that actually had consequences against Mexico, but it was gutted. And it's been over 30 years since we built that treatment plant, and Mexico still has not caught up or built enough infrastructure to manage their own sewage, and it looks like it's going to be at least another 20 years before we do that. No more Band-Aids. We need to make this Mexico's problem. Right now, it's our problem. We have to make it Mexico's problem, not ours. We have to put consequences. We have to put in rules, regulations, tariffs, treaties, whatever, but we have to stop the flow of sewage. So with we're putting on Band-Aids when we need a tourniquet to stop this stuff from flowing into our country. So I'm going to offer a friendly amendment to add to your item here, is that we direct the CAO to pursue all efforts and all levels of government to prevent Mexico from polluting our county and country via the Tijuana River.
Thank you very much. Any comments from any of my other colleagues? Okay, we have a motion on this item.
I pushed the button. It didn't pop up, but I pushed.
It's okay, you can use manual.
Okay. Well,
I see your hand. Got it.
Thank you. I know, we have a A72 process, and we usually go through that A72 process. And recently, we stopped using it. And this board letter didn't go through the A72 process. And I get the last item we discussed didn't go through it either, but there was a time element and level of emergency. But was there a reason why we didn't use the A72 process?
Yeah, it was similar. The ideas that were proposed, that were brought to us, or to me actually, by Mayor Paloma Aguirre was was very recent. It was within the time constraints.
Okay, and then there's been some news reporting on the air filters where people have said they're not helpful, not useful. Part of the issue is many people don't have air conditioning, so they open the windows, rendering the filters ineffective.
That's definitely happening. That's one that's happening. The other thing that's happening is that the wrong filters had been purchased initially, and so I think it looks like the APCD made a pivot and is purchasing the correct filters.
Well, before we spend any more money on filters, I'd like to have a survey done from the county, calling the people that have the filters and find out how effective. And, my initial office was in El Cajon in the state building, and we had a sewage issue, and the county brought in these huge filters, industrial filters. My new office, because that was unlivable, is not there. I had to move out. I don't want to be spending money for placebos. I want to solve the problem. And so I'd like to make sure that we're not sending filters as placebos that aren't going to be used, that don't actually solve any problem in the short run.
Can I just get clear, Supervisor Anderson? What the recommendations is matching funds to protect kids from toxic air in school. So this is the air filtration and HVAC upgrades in schools and child care centers. I'm not quite sure what you're talking about.
Well, in my personal experience, the commercial filters didn't change anything it was still unlivable. So I want to make sure that we have some proof that this is some sort of a solution, that we're not spending a lot of money that doesn't change anything.
So is the proposal basically some sort of amendment to number A that would require like a assessment to ensure we have the right filters? Is that what you're getting at?
In the assessment also would be that that it's going to be an effective tool. We're not just going through it, that it makes sense.
So basically that it is the right filters and it's going to actually effectively protect the kids from toxic air. I think that's a good idea.
We haven't, I know there's been a huge debate over whether the air is toxic or not. And I know that some of the science hasn't been as solid as perhaps it should. You know, some people say that it wasn't tested in the right area, it wasn't tested at the right time, and other people say, hey, everything's been tested. I wanted to do it based on science.
So it sounds like strong support for B, which is the public health impact study, to do it based on science, but questions around A, because you want to make sure that the filters are going to be effective. Is that what you're hearing?
Exactly.
Okay. I'm open to that. I'm happy to, require some sort of preliminary assessment to ensure that the filters are the right filters and that they're going to effectively protect the kids from toxic air and not just be a Band-Aid.
And then this also establishes an ad hoc subcommittee?
Yeah, it would, yes, or a recommendation, come back with that.
I'd want to make sure that timeline included District 1.
It does. It says representing District 1 and 3 is the two impacted communities. So it says appointing supervisors representing the most impacted coastal communities, District 1 and 3.
Okay. I just want to make sure, because when I read it, it wasn't absolutely clear to me. So that's helpful.
Yeah, and so, I think functionally it would mean we wouldn't have a subcommittee until a month from now, at least, because we wouldn't have a person in the District 3, in the District 1 spot.
So how are you looking to move it forward? What's the language that you're thinking?
It says establish an ad hoc subcommittee.
No, I'm back to the filter portion.
Oh.
I'm good on the ad hoc portion.
I'm open. I'd say ensure the filters are science-based and effective before moving forward with a filter program. But I'm really open. It was your amendment. So.
The reason why I asked is I don't know how to frame it correctly. There's been studies. The studies have come back negative. There's been reporting where in residential the filters are not effective. On my personal note, the industrial filters that were used in my office, and they were the size of this desk, they were huge, were not effective. And are we talking about smell? And listen, I'm not minimizing smell, because in our office, the smell was so overwhelming, it pushed people to barf.
Wow.
And there's a difference
That's
between
serious.
that and the actual science of the toxics in the air. So I can understand the filters may take the toxics out, but it still may not render the room livable. I just want to make sure, we're talking about spending lots of money, and I just want to make sure that there's value in it. And I know that's your goal too. But I don't know how we do that when we don't have any of the science coming back saying it's toxic. But I know there's more science moving forward. Perhaps if we said that if we have science to prove it's toxic, we'd address that issue. But even if we do, if it doesn't address the smell, no one's going to be able to occupy that room. Just like nobody could occupy my office during COVID.
So I think I'm looking at A, right? It says including matching funds. So I'll read it just so everyone has it in their brain. It said the recommendation that Supervisor Anderson is focused on is The program is as follows: matching funds to protect kids from toxic air in school, including air filtration and HVAC upgrades in schools and childcare centers impacted by cross-border pollution, leveraging contributions from school districts, APCD, state and federal grants, and philanthropic partners. And this was kind of under the umbrella of directing the CAO to evaluate the programmatic options below and develop strategic recommendations, identifying which initiatives the county may prioritize for implementation. Focusing on opportunities aligned with core county functions that offer the greatest public health impact and that can be leveraged to attract outside funding. Based on that prioritization, develop an implementation roadmap, including potential funding strategies and et cetera, and report back. So I guess my question to you, Ebony, is if I'm clear that legislative intent includes that in this development of the programmatic options and strategic recommendations, that you include an assessment, a scientific assessment before moving forward with any kind of funding program for air filtration, would that be a sufficient legislative intent to allow you to incorporate that in your program analysis? Or maybe that's a question for Claudia.
As long as the direction is clear so that the CEO can operationalize it.
Okay, great. Would that be sufficient?
It would, and then the other aspect is, do we have any funding cap that we're thinking in terms of? We just talked about how we're losing funding for people that have real needs. So when we're talking about assisting with matching funds, do we have a funding cap, or are we saying all that funding would have to come from a third-party resource, like a grant or something that the county applied for? I don't want to be diverting general funds, and if this turns out to be $100 million, we're not at a crossroads where we can do this.
Yeah, I agree, actually, that that the funding is a significant constraint. And I think that what my hope was to have the team come, really try to prioritize based on opportunities that offer the greatest, basically the biggest bang for the buck, for lack of a more, or I guess the colloquial is the most effective means of communication. So I think that's what I'm hoping they come back with is, hey, these are the things that we know are worth exploring. We also know we're in a really limited budget environment. Come back with some options and hopefully focus on the ones where we can leverage the most external resources with the least of our own investments on the front end. And I think we will have to make some trade-offs. I think that I would imagine the team's going to come back and say, hey, you could look at option A, it's going to cost a lot. You can look at option B, it'll cost a little bit. You're not going to see, it'll leverage a lot of external money. So that's what the intent here is, for them to come back with some options for us to look at. And I was pretty clear on here, which is offering the greatest public health impact that be leveraged to attract outside funding that are aligned with core county functions. So.
I appreciate that. Ebony, do we give you clear direction with the issues I'm concerned about?
Thank you through the Vice Chair. Yes, you've given sufficient direction in terms of the manner in which you would like us to evaluate the air filtration product itself to ensure that it's actually effective. We can also include information in the report back on the air quality itself, and sufficient direction as it relates to ensuring that we're using resources appropriately and leveraging outside funding sources as well.
Thank you.
And options. Thank you.
And I'd just like to finish with, I'm not interested in giving air filter to people that don't have the ability to operate it effectively. So if you don't have air conditioning, and we're talking about summer, it's not, we have so limited resources. If you're going to operate it with the windows open and the doors open, and look, you got to be able to, you can't be in a house that's 200 degrees. You'll cook. So I get that, but in the same token, I think that there was no regulation in how we moved forward. That's why there was negative press, where people said they got the air filters, but they're not effective because they can't live with their windows closed.
Yep.
So I just want to make sure up front that we're emotionally and mentally agreeing that, well, you wish we could do more, that doesn't make sense.
Yeah, I appreciate this. I think, just to kind of say for the record, my intent here is for the team to return at the end of September with recommendations for our consideration that really look at what's going to be effective, not just what sounds good on, on paper, but what really is effective in practice, that's science-based, it's evidence-based, and to the extent that we don't have that evidence, to really focus on gathering that data, that's really the priority. And then second of all, really looking at where we can leverage, right? Where like a smaller investment on the front end of ours can potentially leverage significant additional resources downstream, maybe not today, but in the future, and we need to lay the groundwork as opposed to us shouldering a significant cost, especially given where we are with our funding environment. But, that's the intent for us to have options to consider. And does that clarify or help?
I'm comfortable with that.
Okay. Thank you very much. So we have a motion on the table and a second.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes with Supervisor Desmond voting no, all other supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on. So now we're moving to our budget item, which was supposed to be time certain, but that took a little longer. So, Ebony, shall I turn it over to you for our collection of what? Andrew has something to say. Andrew, take it away.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and members of the board. Your items for discussion this afternoon are items 6 and 7 on the Board of Supervisors General Legislative Session agenda. Item 1 on the agendas of the Flood Control District, the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority, the Redevelopment Successor Agency, the Sanitation District, and item 2 on the Fire Protection District for your deliberation and adoption of the operational plan. These items will be heard concurrently and acted on with one motion should you desire to do so. On May 1st, 2025, the Chief Administrative Officer's recommended operational plan for fiscal years 25 through 27 was released. Budget hearings began on Tuesday, June 3rd, 2025, with members of the public being given the opportunity to provide oral and written testimony. Budget hearings concluded on June 12th at 5 p.m. All comments received on the operational plan have been provided to the board and made available online. Today's actions request that the board consider the change letter and ultimately approve the resolutions adopting the budget for the County of San Diego, county service areas, community facilities districts, certain maintenance districts and permanent road divisions, the Fire Protection District, Flood Control District, the In-Home Supportive Services Public Authority, the Redevelopment Successor Agency, and the Sanitation District. With that, I'll turn it over to our Chief Administrative Officer, Ebony Shelton.
Thank you so much, Andrew. And good afternoon, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and members of the board. Today, I'm presenting the final budget recommendations for fiscal year 2025, 26, and 26, 27. The recommended budget for the upcoming fiscal year is balanced and invests in county programs and services, reflecting our deep commitment to support the residents of our region. Using the county's general management system as our framework, the county team collaborated across groups and departments to help build the proposed budget informed by community input that was collected throughout the year. As a result of this collaborative work and community input, we have built a budget that prioritizes resources reflective of the communities that we serve while supporting the county employees who provide these services with their heart. The strategy also creates flexibility as we continue to monitor activities and risks at the federal and state level. I want to thank the community, the people that we serve, for their input. You have shared your priorities through surveys, meetings, open houses, and many other opportunities. With that, I'll turn over the presentation to Joan Brockie, our Chief Financial Officer, to give an overview of the final budget.
Okay, thank you, Ebony. First, let's look at how the change letter released on June 12th would revise the CAO recommended budget, which was released in May. This slide summarizes the proposed revised recommended budget for fiscal year 25-26. The revisions reflect input from the community and the board and align with budget priorities. The CAO recommended budget, shown in blue, totals $8.62 billion in appropriations and 20,281 staff years. Through the CAO change letter shown in gray, an additional $18.3 million is recommended, along with a reduction of 1 staff year, bringing the total revised recommended budget to $8.63 billion and 20,280 staff years, shown at the bottom of the slide in orange. Overall, this is an increase of $104.1 million, or 1.2% from the current fiscal year adopted budget, and reflects continued meaningful investments in public services and increased efficiency in operations. While growth in the proposed revised recommended budget is moderate, it shows the county's commitment to areas including investments in our dedicated workforce, expanded mental health and substance use support, and enhanced public safety focused on critical major maintenance, fire protection, and additional medical care support for youths and adults in custody. On the next slide, we'll review investments included in the $18.3 million CAO change letter. In the CAO change letter, public safety sees an addition of $13.2 million in appropriations and a reduction of 1 staff year. The $13.2 million is based on additional grant funding for the Sheriff's Office, which includes $12.2 million in state and federal funding for security initiatives, $1.1 million to support pre-release services and behavioral health linkage for justice-involved adults, and $200,000 in grant funding for the purchase of canines and training of canine officers. These increases are offset partially by a decrease of $300,000 and 1 staff year from a decrease in requested contract law enforcement services. The change letter also confirms that the revised recommended budget will provide funding for the sheriff's efforts to fight the fentanyl overdose epidemic, planning for the Descanso Fire Station upgrades and repairs, collaboration with CAL FIRE to explore opportunities to use livestock to mitigate fire risk, and staffing for 2 water tenders in the San Diego County Fire Protection District. Health and Human Services sees a one-time increase of $900,000 for housing and community development services to restore funds reduced in the May recommended budget for domestic violence sheltering and to create one-time capacity for legal services for tenants facing eviction, including counseling, outreach, and prevention activities. Funding was made available by reprioritizing current fiscal year revenue and earmarking it to be used for these initiatives in the next fiscal year. These funds are a part of the ARPA framework originally set for affordable housing construction, which has come in under budget. The CAO change letter also confirms the extension of LGBTQ innovative housing and supports, and also the Mas Fresco Plus program, which supports healthy food choices for county residents. Land Use and Environment sees an addition of $4.1 million based on new grant funding and the use of road and flood control district fund amounts. This includes $3.9 million for various road improvements, such as bike lanes, new traffic signals, and pedestrian enhancements. There's also $100,000 for landscaping services in stormwater maintenance zones, and $100,000 for biological management and sediment removal in the Keys Creek Channel in Fallbrook. Also, enhanced drowning prevention and swim lesson programs are being incorporated into the Parks and Recreation budget. Finally, $20,000 is added to rebudget unspent balances in the Community Enhancement Program. Let's now look at the next slide, which has information on the revised recommended budget, and we see that it continues to invest across all business groups in programs that are vital to supporting the well-being and resilience of vulnerable communities such as homelessness, housing, behavioral health, and safety net services, public safety, including law enforcement, fire protection, and emergency preparedness, infrastructure such as critical major maintenance projects for road safety, and improvements to detention facilities, and a skilled and innovative workforce. The contents of this revised budget reflect the board's and community's priorities while maintaining core services and fiscal stability. Let's take a look at staffing on the next slide. For staffing, the revised recommended budget proposes a decrease of 191 staff years, or a 0.9% reduction from the current year adopted budget, which includes the reduction in change letter of 1 position in the Sheriff's Office. These reductions will be realized with vacant positions, regular attrition, and consolidation and reorganization efforts that are a part of this year's budget strategy. And now I'd like to turn the presentation over to Matthew Parr, Director of Economic Development and Government Affairs, to provide an update on federal and state changes.
Thank you, Joan. There are several actions happening at the federal and state level that could impact our funding and operation across each of our groups and county departments in the near and long term. On the federal level, the Office of Economic Development and Government Affairs, along with the Incident Command Structure, or ICS, is closely monitoring federal actions to understand their potential impacts on the County of San Diego. The recently passed House of Representatives budget reconciliation package, which is now being considered in the U.S. Senate, includes provisions that could impact the county, including new work requirements for beneficiaries, and for the first time ever, potentially new state matching funds for SNAP benefits costs, reduce federal funding for SNAP administrative costs, reduce federal support for Medicaid, especially for undocumented individuals, new out-of-pocket costs and more frequent eligibility checks for Medicaid beneficiaries, new work requirements for Medicaid beneficiaries, no new or increased Medicaid provider taxes, cuts to green energy and environmental justice programs, and a 10-year moratorium on AI regulation. I should also note that these proposals are subject to change at any time over the next few weeks while the reconciliation package is debated in Congress. Just this weekend, the Senate parliamentarian ruled that the SNAP benefits cost share was not eligible to be included in the final package. However, congressional leaders may still find a way to include it in the final package. In addition, many of these proposals have delayed implementation dates, with most not taking effect until 2027 or 2028. However, if these proposals pass Congress as written, it will mean the state and counties will have fewer administrative dollars to administer these programs and serve our constituents. Additionally, once Congress passes a reconciliation package, most likely in early July, attention will turn to the federal annual appropriations process. The President's proposed budget proposes significant cuts to programs that support county services for housing, health, and potentially disaster response, just to name a few. However, it is very unlikely that Congress will pass that budget as proposed. It's too early to know what Congress's timeline is for annual appropriations. We won't know more about these proposals until after the debate over reconciliation concludes. Further complicating reconciliation and the annual appropriations process are other world events that could distract Congress from these efforts or influence the package, so a lot more to come. On the state level, I am hearing just this morning that a final enacted budget is close. State leaders have until Saturday to release text of an enacted budget, until Monday, June 30, to vote on a final budget. The governor's proposed budget and May revision and the state legislature's passed budget as written in State Senate Bill 101 includes proposals that will impact the county's finances. Proposals include freezing enrollment for full scope Medi-Cal for undocumented adults and new Medi-Cal premiums for undocumented adults. The governor's budget includes caps on in-home supportive services, IHSS, travel and overtime, and eligibility for undocumented individuals. But the state legislature's budget rejects those IHSS proposals. I don't know yet what the final proposals will be related to IHSS, but potential caps to IHSS overtime and travel hours could impact the county depending on what is ultimately agreed to in the final budget agreement. In addition, the final state enacted budget will most likely be a placeholder budget until there is more clarity on the potential impacts at the federal level. The state has not shared or offered any potential solutions for how they plan to address the federal cuts. Once there is more clarity at the federal level, the governor will most likely call a special session in the fall to address the impacts to the state budget. The county is actively monitoring and responding to these proposals and advocating for our priorities with our state and federal partners. I'll now turn the presentation back over to Joan.
Okay, thank you, Matthew. As county staff continues to monitor potential actions at the federal and state levels, we are also evaluating mitigation strategies as information becomes available. Based on the anticipated timeline for federal and state activities, county staff will recommend any necessary updates to funding sources and other budgetary adjustments in the fall or winter of this calendar year. We are prepared and remain flexible to support the public as more is known. Today, we're asking your board to take several actions. First, we request the board to approve the CAO recommended operational plan change letter. Second, we are asking the board to consider any revisions to the budget that have been submitted after the close of budget hearings. And following these two items, staff is seeking your approval of resolutions to adopt a budget for the county and all special districts for the next fiscal year, and to authorize the auditor and controller to carry forward appropriations in accordance with the County Budget Act. This concludes staff's presentation, and I'll now turn things back over to Ebony.
Thank you so much, team. As you can see, the county team has taken a thoughtful, collaborative approach, prioritizing mandated services, streamlining operations, and making careful decisions to maintain stability while remaining flexible for the future in this time of financial uncertainty. I want to thank our Chief Financial Officer, our Group General Managers, Department Heads, elected officials, our Finance Directors, and the Office of Financial Planning for all of the work and information and expertise that has been shared as we've built this budget. Your work and expertise has been invaluable. And thanks to you, members of the board, on behalf of the team, we truly appreciate your partnership as we continue working together to invest in the future of our communities. And to our community members, thank you for your ongoing engagement and participation as we together build a stronger region through collaborative work and shared priorities. Your input is vital in shaping our budget and many other operational objectives. That concludes staff presentation. Thank you.
Okay, very much. Thank you very much. Do my colleagues have any opening comments, or else we'll just go to public comment? Okay, we'll go ahead to go to public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 22 requests to speak on these items, 9 in person and 13 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 6 e-comments, 2 in favor, 3 in opposition, and 1 neutral. For any individuals that requested to speak on the items related to the county's recommended operational plan by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. You will have 1 minute to address the board since there are 10 or more speakers on these items. As your name is called, I will ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record, and I will be calling you groups of 3, so I'll ask you to please listen for your name. I'd like to invite forward the first 3 speakers, Gloria Cruz Cardenas, Karina Pugh, and allegedly Audra. If I've caught your name, please come forward.
Hi, my name is Gloria Cruz Cardenas. I'm a resident of District 1. I'm the Chief Impact Officer at the San Diego LGBT Community Center. First, thank you to staff and the board for including the innovative adult housing program in the revised budget. As we have shared before, these contracts have been immensely successful. Sustaining them is an efficient and effective use of county dollars. And as our community continues to be targeted by the many who believe our existence in society is somewhat a threat to them, it is a breath of fresh air to feel supported by our local elected leaders. LGBTQ+ people will continue to be here. Together we rise, together we fight. Thank you for seeing us and supporting us. I support the county budget proposed today. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. My name is Karina Pugh. My pronouns are she, her, hers, and I'm here on behalf of the San Diego LGBT Community Center with the San Diego LGBTQIA+ regional table. We support the county budget proposed today. Thank you, supervisors, for ensuring that the revised budget includes funding to preserve innovative adult housing services and enhanced housing services. These housing services are not only critical, they are essential in supporting our community across the San Diego region in the midst of federal funding threats to programs that support our most vulnerable. Please vote to pass the revised budget as is, including the sustained funding for these essential housing services to vulnerable communities. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 3 additional speakers, Evelyn Lopez, Noah Yik, and Ricky R. If I've called your name, please come forward.
My person uses the name Audra. Isn't it great to be in a circle jerk with money? It's like everyone's just, jerking each other off, trying to just spread money around. It's like, how can she talk like that? How can you guys do what you're doing? Oh, and until, it's like fentanyl prevention overdose is giving them paraphernalia to do the fentanyl part of the problem. No, right? Exactly. It's sad that HHS is like so much $3.5 billion, right? No wonder. You got to really traffic the children through that, right? How many more children are we going to traffic this year? I'm wondering. How many more families are we going to rip apart, Kimberly? Do you have some in mind? I mean, thank God I don't have a family, right? Because you'd rip it apart like no one's business. Yeah, it's like until we figure out what's going on with the children and stop abusing them in the county, you guys can fuck off.
I'd like to invite forward 3 additional speakers, Mark, Anthony Dang, and Marco Espinosa. I've called your name. Please come forward. Welcome to come forward in any order.
Marco Espinosa. Yes. I yield back to the chair.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
That's quick. Mark, county spends over $2 billion annually on contracts. These are mostly working with very far left companies or nonprofits. They're willing to go along and get along with any horrifying globalist bullshit that you guys come up with for the United Nations. It's really, really sad. Nearly 400 nonprofits, small businesses, economic development, and businesses support organizations participate in surveys, workshops, and stakeholder meetings. Stakeholders, they're just there to rip us off and make money. And these people get invited to the meetings that none of the rest of us get to know about. Total bullshit. Among other initiatives, AB 2019 requires the state small business liaisons for to develop economic equity action plans. This is Agenda 21. Why should LGBTQ get better housing than any of us? Or prioritize? They're just other people. 1 minute is wrong.
Thank you.
I didn't even
Thank you. Thank you, Mark.
Okay, thank you, Mark.
Final call for Evelyn Lopez, Noah Yi Yik, Ricky R., and Anthony Dang. Not seeing any movement in the chamber, we'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. When it is your turn to speak, you will be unmuted and you'll hear a recording that will tell you to begin your comments. I'll remind you to please state your name for the audio record. We will begin with our first caller.
Good afternoon, supervisors and staff. My name is Chelsea Walzett-Burks, and I'm the Senior Community Impact Director for the American Heart Association in San Diego. I want to thank the board and the staff and their leadership in creating this robust spending plan, especially for including produce prescription programs, which continue to tackle food insecurity as part of our long-term community and economic recovery. The CAO revised recommended budget includes funding to continue produce prescription program Mas Fresco Plus, and on behalf of myself, and most importantly, a really strong and diverse coalition of residents, community-based organizations, federally qualified health centers, and local farmers and growers, we thank you and the staff for hearing us on the importance and impact of these produce prescriptions. We urge you to adopt the recommended change letter, and again, thank you so much for your leadership and continuing to provide these critical programs for San Diego County families. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
All bold, you need to recognize the fiscal crisis for what it is. The Army would say piss poor planning. As Monica pointed out, you have time and you need to revise the budget. Rethink it. The change adds $18.3 million to the budget now and gets $0.3 million back in 2 years. It's good that most of it's for public safety, but there's an item for LGBTQ housing, and I disapprove. This does not address the $200 million or so deficit in the reserves. When the state and feds are threatening to withhold or claw back grants beyond just not approving them, this is a pretty bad move. This doesn't keep up with current changes and cuts, but creates an incident command structure.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Amen, Paul the Bull. PPP, piss poor, whatever. That should be their anthem. You down with PPP? Yeah, you know me, because they are so poor in everything they do. Anyways, okay. So this isn't just poor budgeting, and amen to Mark and Audra. This isn't just poor budgeting, it's reckless. Spending millions when the county can't cover its existing shortfalls shows who this government really serves. It's not the people, it's the agenda, the New World Order, blueprint for surveillance, control, and those looming 15-minute cities. To county workers and staffers, your jobs matter. But don't be fooled. Every task you do feeds the system, the monster system that will eventually, or if it hasn't already, affect and impact your own families. Wake up. You have the power to question, to resist, to refuse, to be complicit. If your leaders won't serve us.
Thank you. For the record, the speaker was Consuelo. Hear from the next caller.
Over 5 million possible fraudulent ballots got Governor Newsom election. Those people are the people you're pissed off at. Every single one of you, the NGOs. Those guys are committing registration voter fraud. They're moving our homeless population, doing what they want with it. And if these board members speak out, they shut them up. I want to thank Nora Vargas for this wonderful gift she gave me. By continuing the race when she knew she was going to leave, giving me this opportunity to try again against this election, centralizing it down to San Diego. Monica was my first attempt. You guys sent cops to my door. That is a true statement. You guys have been trying to stop me this entire time getting this information out. Now, if you want to go ahead and continue down those actions, by all means, approve this budget. I could go ahead and point out.
Thank you. For the record, that speaker was Gambler Hermes. Hear from the next caller.
Did you guys catch where staff said the tall scum man in Sacramento has no plan to address his own deficit? So to save tax dollars, get rid of the giant nameplate signs on each supervisor's office. Nobody needs to know who the fellow supervisor is. They just need to know where the district office is. Eliminate the Office of Equity and Racial Justice. End the unlawful racism. Eliminate the Office of Immigrant and Refugee Affairs. Illegal immigration skyrocketed after these supervisors used countless millions of our tax dollars on building shelters versus for our known American homeless, as well as on things like tech toys and airline tickets, which made the number of violent criminals increase, which brought ICE to our streets. Great job. Eliminate the abuse of Linsky Center. Their record of abuse and neglect of children is unacceptable. Eliminate the Office of Homeless Solutions and Equitable Community. Homelessness has increased by about 23%, so obviously nothing these failed supervisors have done has worked. So defund the failed supervisor salaries and benefits, of course. That save over $1 million a year, and yet there's no money for air purifiers. Okay, great joke.
Thank you. We'll hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. Ann Riddle here. I have to admit, as I tried to search this budget information to understand what might be of value to those of us out in the backcountry, I was mystified. I'm mystified by the statement that this $8.6 billion with a B, is just part of the spending on the part of the county that we're taking a look at today. I think we need to clear a way for us in the unincorporated area to understand what it is that you're doing that are going to really help improve the quality of our life. Or as you say, you want to help us become more self-sufficient, increase economic sustainability, and reduce poverty. I don't see it here in the suggestions that you're making in the budget. In fact, the very statement that you made back on item 10 about the budget not being able to meet all of the needs, the community needs, because there isn't quite enough money to go around, and yet we can send to...
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is Noah Yuyik, and I'm a researcher and policy advocate with the Center on Policy Initiatives. I'm also part of Invest in San Diego Families, a coalition fighting for a San Diego County that is for the people and by the people. We believe the county budget should be a people's budget, one that equitably invests public dollars, addresses systemic harm, prioritizes communities with the greatest need, and promotes transparency and accountability at every step. I want to thank the Board of Supervisors and the CAO for making key people-first investments, funding the Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement, mobile crisis response teams, the Immigrant Legal Defense Program, and including $800,000 for innovative adult housing services and enhanced housing services. These decisions tell people they matter. They bring us closer to a San Diego County where care, dignity, and equity are the foundation. We urge you to adopt the CAO's revised recommended budget with these inclusions. We also urge you to stay proactive. Housing, healthcare, and food are not luxuries. If the federal administration walks away, San Diego County must step in. We're counting on your leadership to ensure our communities are protected and supported. Thank you.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon. My name is Sarah Colvis. My pronouns are she, her, and I am a resident of District 4. I want to thank you for following up on your recent Pride proclamation with tangible support for our LGBTQ+ community. Funding the innovative adult housing services and enhanced housing services will provide the critical support that our community will need during the challenges ahead. So I ask you to please keep this funding in the final county budget, along with funding for the Immigrant Legal Defense Program. Thank you.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Supervisors. My name is Gus Hernandez. My pronouns are he, him, and ed, and I live in District 4 in San Diego County. I want to call in today to say that I support the county budget proposed today. Thank you all so much for ensuring that the revised budget includes funding to preserve innovative adult housing services and enhanced housing services. We gathered over 700 petition signatures for these, so we really appreciate that you included them. And today I ask that you please vote to pass the revised budget, including the sustained funding for these essential housing services for vulnerable populations in San Diego. Thank you.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Hello, my name is Dr. Joseph. My pronouns are she, her, and I live in District 1. I'm here to thank you for supporting vulnerable communities through the county's Immigrant Legal Defense Program and LGBTQIA housing services. These programs save lives. Yesterday's U.S. Supreme Court decision removed protections against deportations to third countries. This means people in detention right here in San Diego could be sent to places like Sudan, where they face real risk of torture and disappearance. Your support for legal defense and safe housing helps prevent this cruelty. It keeps people out of ICE custody and connected to care, to safety, to hope. I strongly support the proposed revised budget. Please vote to pass it as it is, because the lives of LGBTQIA+ people, immigrants, and asylum seekers depend on it. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon. My name is Allie Dressel. I'm a policy advocate with Climate Action Campaign. We're here to remind the county of its commitment to spend at least 20% of the Climate Action Plan budget in communities of concern, those hit first and worst by climate change. We're asking for clear tracking and transparency in the CAP implementation budget, ideally through the CAP annual report or within these budget documents. A fantastic place to start tracking is the EV charging pilot program rolling out soon. This 20% CAP benchmark was already agreed upon, and now we just need to start tracking it. To truly advance equity, we need to exceed 20% of the CAP budget being implemented in the communities of concern. With funding threats from the federal level, local accountability becomes even more critical. We also join the call to fund the Global Village Project, 100% affordable community design development along the Troyes Creek corridor. This project reflects equity, sustainability, and long-term community investment, and would also count towards the 20% CAP budget benchmark.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on the recommended operational plan.
Okay, thank you very much. Wow. Okay, first of all, thank you. This is I think has been an incredibly difficult year. I think this has been a huge endeavor. There's a lot in here. Just going to say a couple comments and then hopefully turn it over to my colleagues for thoughts and discussion. This is a hard moment. This is a really difficult moment. I know we're facing a lot of headwinds, both sort of from the macroeconomic perspective as well as a fiscal perspective. And we have done, I think, as a team and as a county, a good job of putting together a balanced budget. There are certain things in here about which I do have strong concerns, particularly around the eligibility workers, as sort of was illustrated by our previous item that was discussed this morning. So, you know, it's a difficult thing when we know we have to move forward with a budget where we don't quite have enough resources that we need to do everything that we need to do for our county. And I am very committed to continuing to look at other options. You know, where else can we find funds? It's why I brought forward the board item with my colleague, Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, a couple weeks ago regarding the reserves policy and possibilities around bridge funding. I think that's going to continue being important. Again, I think that, like I said, the eligibility workers issue, I think that the LGBTQ housing program, I'm glad to see that the change letter has identified some resources for that, but it's not sufficient. It's not at the scale that we need to be investing, particularly because it is a program that has had such proven impact. It's really hard to find home programs in the space around housing that really move the needle. And that program, I think, moves the needle. So I'm certainly concerned about that, concerned about, you know, losing access to tenant legal services, which are really important in keeping people housed. But overall, I think this budget does a really solid job of trying to balance our budget in a really difficult time. I think it does do a good job of really investing in recruitment and retention of the most important part of our county, which are our county workers and the folks that make this county function and run every single day. I think the budget does an excellent job of really centering the investments we do need to be making in our county workforce to continue keeping up with the cost of living and providing the kind of incentives that we need to keep folks here and at our county and serving our community. And that's true across the board, you know, from the sheriffs to our healthcare workers, to folks who work on behavioral health, our public defenders, our district attorneys. So I think from the point of view of investing in our county workers, I really am proud of what this budget does. So I will say I think we still have some work to do as we look ahead at you know, how we face some of these challenges that are coming at us. I think we're going to have to take a careful look at the reserves. I think that some of these staffing scalebacks are not appropriate, but I think it's the best we can do for now. And I'm going to be looking forward to continuing to identify additional fiscal strategies and sustainable funding opportunities to plug some of these gaps so that we can continue bringing our residents the level of services that people need and deserve. So I just wanted to kick off with our conversation and love to turn it over to my colleague, Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you so much. Let me start by thanking the CAO and our county staff for putting this structurally balanced budget together in this unusual and challenging fiscal year. There have been a lot of conversations, a lot of briefings that you all have provided, a lot of questions that you all have answered. So I want to say thank you. I also want to express my gratitude for the county's dedication in gathering the community's voice in this budget process by disseminating surveys, hosting open houses, meetings, and collaborating with my office on hosting a budget forum in District 4's Southeastern Livewell Center. Let me also just take a moment to thank the participants of my Summer Youth Academy who are sitting up in the balcony there. They have been very much engaged in this process with us as well, just putting our heads together, meeting with county staff, learning more about the county, but also sharing their thoughts about our budget and about homelessness and about county functions and diving deeper into health and human services. So I don't want to go any further in this meeting without saying thank you to them. I think there were more up top there earlier this morning, but thank you for your engagement in this process and also in this meeting. So going to the CAO's change letter, I'm glad to see some of the budget increases, particularly in the Mas Fresco program, the domestic violence shelter-based program, tenant legal services, and the LGBTQ plus innovative housing and supports. These are certainly important additions to our budget to address food justice and homelessness. And certainly I'm supportive of those, but I have to emphasize again that we are facing very, very aggressive, the possibility of very, very aggressive federal disinvestment. And this will put a lot more burden on the county than we currently have. So I understand that we now are putting our best foot forward in compiling a balanced budget, prioritizing critical essential services and investing in our workforce. But given the looming uncertainty, we must continue to take steps to, as I keep saying, hope for the best, but plan for the worst. And that's why I'm glad that we passed the earlier board item that is going to help us do that and kind of project out into the future and make plans based on whatever impact that we will feel. While this budget is balanced, I am concerned about the following: the decrease in self-sufficiency services, need for more funding towards our innovative housing trust fund, senior transportation programs, supporting our partnerships with CalAIM and Medi-Cal transformation. I'm still monitoring the impact of Prop 36 and on our budget that I think we also need to continue to lift up in these discussions. And so just, I will leave it there, but wanted to say thank you to everyone. I think that based on what we have said as a board that we want to look forward, I will be supporting this budget today, but I just want to flag that we have to continue to monitor the federal and state activities because they certainly will have a major impact on our county and particularly our most vulnerable community members. Thank you.
Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, Madam Vice Chair. Appreciate it. First of all, I want to say thank you to Ebony and Joan and all the hard work and the staff, the employee groups, all the directors, everybody who put in the effort. This was a long time coming and started several months ago. So I'm really glad to see it's balanced and we're not facing deficit spending. There's a lot I like about this $8.6 billion budget. For example, the largest increase, $149 million going to public safety. As it should, for sheriff services, jail improvements, and for opioid enforcement programs. For behavioral health, there's over $100 million invested in substance use disorder services, pre-release services for people getting out of jail to hopefully set them on the right track. And I'm excited about the county's partnership with Tri-City Hospital to open a 16-bed psychiatric facility, inpatient care that is finally going to be opening this summer. I think I got approval for those dollars 6 years ago, but it's finally happening, so I appreciate that. And we're also maintaining service levels and not scaling back on libraries, parks, or road improvements. I also appreciate the CAO for taking feedback and input, and I'm supportive of the change letter and all the things that are in it. And just to highlight a couple things I really appreciate in there, the funding and staffing and operation of 2 new water tenders. We bought these 2 water tenders to fight fires out in the unincorporated area, but we need personnel. And so this is for the personnel and staffing, one of which will be located in North County and the other one's most likely in East County. We've learned from the LA fires that having mobile, large quantities of water is critical for saving lives and property. Also, there's livestock clearing efforts, prevention, which is really important as far as clearing fuel in some of our most vulnerable areas that are susceptible to fire. And the funding for drowning prevention is very important. We live here in San Diego County, after all, and swim lessons will, for kids, help save lives. And what I have noticed in the past when we've done these efforts, even adults take these swim lessons because they don't always feel confidence jumping into the pool. But I do once again want to say a lot of the efforts with the represented employee groups that were in their help and their effort with this budget. There's a couple items I don't support, and I want to voice my opposition for the record, including the $5 million for the Immigrant Rights Legal Defense Fund, providing legal services for immigrants in federal court, and the $1.3 million to the Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement. This is actually a state responsibility, and the county should not be refunding a redundant department. But overall, I'm going to be able to support this budget because I think it's balanced. It prioritizes public safety and other services needed across the region. So thank you to staff and everybody for great work and job well done. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Any comments from Supervisor Anderson?
Awesome job, staff. And do you need a motion?
We do.
So made.
Okay, thank you very much. I'm happy to second. So we have a motion on the floor, and we have a second. Ebony, how do you feel? Seriously, thank you. You did an amazing job.
Thank you.
You did a really incredible job. Thank you. Okay, there's a motion and a second.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Thank you for your support. I know we
You did great. This is hard.
Supervisor Anderson.
We will now move into discussion item 11, advancing food justice by supporting the San Diego Food Bank in the Suncoast Market Co-op. Monica, did you want to speak first before we went to the public?
Yeah, yes, I'll go ahead and just do some introductory comments if that's okay.
Please do.
Okay. I want to begin by thanking my colleague, Supervisor Anderson, for your partnership on this item. Hunger and food insecurity are countywide issues, and I'm honored to partner with you in this effort to address these issues that affect far too many low-income families throughout the region. To further illustrate the scale of this issue, the San Diego Hunger Coalition has reported that 25% of individuals are food insecure throughout San Diego County, and the percentage of children and youth that are food insecure is even higher at 32%. I was honored to pass a board letter back in June of 2024 in partnership with District 1, calling for the development of the Food Justice Community Action Plan. This plan sought to identify actions the county could take to reduce food insecurity, eliminate food deserts, improve access to locally grown produce, and increase collaboration between the county and organizations involved in the local food system. Today's actions are a direct extension of those efforts. The San Diego Food Bank is the largest hunger relief organization in San Diego County. The food bank plays a vital role in our local safety net, serving 400,000 people each month throughout this entire region through its partnerships with 450 local nonprofits. They serve a critical role in our local food system, helping to fulfill the nutritional needs for low-income seniors, working families, and children, malnourished students, active duty military, veterans, and their families, as well as homeless families and individuals. Due to an unexpected $2 million cut in emergency food assistance program funding, the food bank has approximately 1.8 million pounds of food deliveries canceled. That includes nutrient-dense, high-value items such as frozen proteins, milk, and eggs. Due to these funding cuts, San Diego children and families will be more vulnerable to food insecurity and the many challenges that come with food insecurity. Hunger and poor nutrition increase rates of chronic disease, behavioral health challenges, immune system dysfunction, and increases the likelihood children will experience developmental delays. Hunger also worsens educational outcomes as children struggle to focus in school. The San Diego Food Bank has done tremendous work for decades, serving the county's most vulnerable people, and by providing financial supports in this time of funding uncertainty, we will reap short and long-term social and economic benefits for all of San Diego County. Community input was vital throughout the process of creating the Food Justice Community Action Plan. A consistent recommendation from community involved in helping with that process, and one of those recommendations was supporting local community-owned food cooperatives, such as Suncoast Market Co-op, which is in development in Imperial Beach. As of May 2025, Suncoast has over 1,200 member owners and will be a key partner in tackling food insecurity and enhancing healthy food access in San Diego County. Today's action, if passed, will help address food deserts in Imperial Beach and the surrounding communities, which are disproportionately impacted by food insecurity and chronic disease such as diabetes and heart disease that are strongly influenced by dietary factors. Suncoast operations are projected to benefit the entire region through the generation of $6.5 million annually to the regional economy, providing a supportive retail outlet to 150 farms and vendors across all 5 county supervisorial districts, and promoting countywide decarbonization efforts. I'll wrap it up by saying once again, thank you to Supervisor Anderson for your partnership on this important issue, and thank you to my colleagues for hearing our items today. I would just urge the rest of my colleagues to support this item, as it will do so much to benefit our local residents, our communities, our farmers, and our food system. Thank you.
Should I take that as a motion?
Yes, sir, please.
Awesome. Mr. Potter, if you would now turn to the public comment, and then we'll go back to our colleagues.
Thank you, Chair Pro Tem Anderson. We have 16 requests to speak on this item, 8 in person and 8 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 20 e-comments, 17 of those in support and 2 in opposition. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 11 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. Because we have 10 or more speakers on this item, you'll have 1 minute to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the first 3 individuals, Kim Frink, John Keating, and Shirley Soth. If I've caught your name, please come forward.
Thank you. Good afternoon. My name is Kim Rivero Frank, and I'm an Imperial Beach resident, serve as the board president of Suncoast Market Co-op, and am here to ask you to vote in favor of agenda item 11. Before I retired, I worked at HHSA for 17 years in programs that promoted the health and well-being of children and families. And when I heard in late 2015 that residents in IB were meeting to discuss opening a food co-op in IB, I signed up immediately. And as I learned more about food co-ops, I realized how well co-op values of self-determination, concern for the community, and democratic principles aligned with my own values. I want you to know how committed Suncoast Volunteer Board of Directors is to making sure that the co-op serves the whole community, so that A person's zip code or income is not a barrier to healthy food access. Suncoast will, of course, accept CalFresh benefits, but beyond that, we will also offer a 10% shopping discount to recipients.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon. I'm John Keating, an Imperial Beach resident. Good comments by Kim. I just came here to support and ask you to approve this $250,000 grant. One of the things I understand is it's going to help secure a almost $900,000 loan. So it's very important to get this grant from you today to help with additional funding. And I want to thank you for the good work. You guys have a tough job, as we've seen today. Thank you.
Thank you. As the next speaker is coming forward, I'd like to invite 3 additional speakers. Allegedly Audra, Andrea Caldwell, and Mauricio Medina. If I've called your name, please come forward.
Hi, my name is Shirley South. I am Imperial Beach resident. I respectfully ask for your support in funding the opening of Suncoast Market Co-op in Imperial Beach. Our food environment matters, and our community suffers from high rates of diet-related chronic diseases such as diabetes and heart disease. By supporting Suncoast, you are investing in a community-owned grocery store that will offer healthy foods, promoting community health and supporting economic justice. With opening of this grocery store, it will hire 20 to 25 new jobs to the local area, offering residents a chance to join a team committed to customer service, community engagement, and economic development. By supporting this grocery store, you are investing not just in a business, but in the health and resilience of a community. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, members of the Board of Supervisors. My name is Andrea Caldwell. I'm the Director of Government Affairs for the San Diego Food Bank. I'm here in support of agenda item number 11. As noted earlier, we are the largest hunger relief organization in the county. We'd like to thank you all for your leadership and being proactive and being an active part of the solution in providing food assistance to the county residents. San Diego Food Bank sees the need for food assistance growing every day at the same time that we're experiencing a decrease in the amount of food that we're getting from the federal government. As noted, this was most apparent in late March when we lost 25.5 canceled truckloads of food. That said, we're also seeing a year-over-year increase in the demand for food assistance. So this grant will enable the San Diego Food Bank to purchase solely food. We're going to use it just for food. So we want to thank you for your leadership and your commitment. Thank you.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mauricio Medina. Good afternoon. Mauricio Medina, Senior Manager of Government Affairs and Advocacy with the Jacobs and Cushman San Diego Food Bank. I want to thank Supervisor Montgomery Stepp and Supervisor Anderson for bringing forward this board action and investing in solutions to help the nearly 800,000 San Diegans across the county facing hunger. With this funding, the county ensures the food bank can continue to provide nutritious meals to seniors, families, and veterans through our regional network of services. Thank you, and I urge the board to pass this item and reaffirm its commitment to creating a hunger-free San Diego.
Thank you. So next speaker is coming forward. I'll call the remaining speakers in person. Marco Espinosa, and Consuelo. If I've called your name, please come forward.
You guys have stuff on your face from that last circle jerk. Anywho, it's interesting that you guys talk about healthy foods. Like all the foods that are provided are banned in other countries because they're toxic to people. And it's funny that you talk about diabetes and heart disease and dietary factors. Also, injecting people with bioweapons is another one, but let's not acknowledge that so we can keep killing people that way. Yeah, it's just funny because, like, if you really cared about people, Kimberly, and their, health, we wouldn't be giving people toxic foods or poisoning them with the water, right? Let's put in lye and things that dissolve bodies. It's just in little increments. It's like, I just put a little bit of arsenic in your coffee. Don't worry about it. It's going to be filtered through your system. Like, you guys literally poison people and act like you're doing good for them. Good job on deceiving the...
Thank you. For the record, that speaker was Audra.
Marco Espinoza. San Diego Food Bank, yes. I didn't know that here in the States we had co-ops, so thank you for telling me about them. I knew of them from my time living overseas, so I think it's great that we have them here. I might even invest in this one considering it's a collective, anyway. All about it, it's democratic, et cetera, et cetera. So yes, thank you very much. I yield back to the chair.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, so of course I'm for feeding people in the food programs. I wonder how much the CEOs of all the companies that just sent someone here to speak are making, because anybody with a high school education could distribute the food. Obviously, you have a list of the stores around here that need to get rid of the old food anyway, and it's just not a hard job. So that's a lot of people are making a lot of money off this, I'll bet. What we're never talking about is why this is happening. Why can't people buy their own food? Well, wealth inequality in America. People need to see these videos on YouTube. These are titles. That's a short video. Here's one. See it from 6 minutes, 40 seconds to 24 minutes. If everyone doesn't show this to their fifth grader, if everybody over the fifth grade can't describe how the Federal Reserve is ripping off our money, then there's no hope for the country at all. And by the way, instead of stopping it, our government partnered with them. That should tell you everything you need to know. Oh, my minute's gone.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Okay, here we go. So, what you're calling food, Consuelo, what you're calling food justice is nothing but GMO junk in a box. The food being handed out by government program is genetically modified, chemically treated, and nutritionally worthless. Just like the board. The soil's dead, the crops are poisoned, and the people are being slowly destroyed, all while being told they're being helped. This isn't nourishment, it's subsidized sickness, and it's all by design because the sick-dependent population is easy to control. Stop pretending these programs serve the people, they serve the agenda to keep humanity weak, docile, disconnected from real food, real land, and real health. We don't need more processed poison, we need sovereignty, and we need truth. Let me know if you need any suggestions. I can be of help.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We will begin with our first caller.
Hi again, my name is Chelsea Walzak-Burks, and I'm the Senior Community Impact Director for the American Heart Association in San Diego. I'm back again to respectfully ask for your support in funding another really important and great nutrition security measure. We have been longtime collaborators with both the San Diego Food Bank and Suncoast Market Co-op in Imperial Beach because we know how important it is to overall health and well-being to have access to healthy, nutritious foods. And we know that working towards nutrition security for all needs to have multiple solutions, and both, supporting the food bank and also the opening of Suncoast Market Co-op are two really great pieces of the puzzle that helped us move forward. By supporting Suncoast, you're investing in a community-driven solution that will improve health outcomes, create jobs, support local farmers, and empower local families. So I just want to say thank you to the board for considering these important investments, and urge you to please vote in favor of funding both Suncoast and the San Diego Food Bank.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
A good idea, but if you reappropriate funds for this food bank from existing fund excess, you will have to rebalance the budget. Maybe you can just even have some of the affected families grow or harvest their own food if they're able, and their kids could get credit for agricultural education for the time they put in, except not in the TJ River mess, and not have to reappropriate it at all. In view of the BB bill, we need to cut expenses and fund the reserves. I suggest this in avoiding processed food, which would also reduce health problems. Excess sugar, especially the so-called corn syrup, it breaks down when you digest it and releases excess destructive energy, and it makes people crazy or violent or forgetful.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller, and for the record, that speaker is Paul DeBold.
So corn syrup will help me forget. 5 million fraudulent ballots got Governor Newsom elected. I told you how. You covered that up. And on top of that, I'll just go ahead and dismantle your entire election system right here, right now. You don't have a secure paper source. You print your security on the ballots, which means you could go ahead and print that security on fraudulent ballots. Prove you are not doing that. You are obviously covering up voter fraud. You are covering up the 5 million fraudulent ballots. There is no question on that. You refuse to go ahead and acknowledge that, and that is your guys' sole responsibility of making sure that we have a secure election system. You refuse to do that. You campaign off of our security. You give all our funds to the NGOs that are committing the fraud, and then you tell me to shut the fuck up? You tell me that you're going to go ahead and ignore me. You hang up the phone on me. And I had a conversation with Tara about this. I have this.
Record that speaker was Gambler Hermes. We'll hear from the next caller.
Hi again, this is Bethany Case. I'm a resident of Imperial Beach and an owner of Suncoast Co-op. I wanted to thank the board for bringing this up, and I want to thank the co-op board for their commitment to this cause. My family and I would like to urge you to approve the award of the funding proposed for Suncoast Co-op Market. South County faces overlapping environmental and public health crises such as poor air quality, as we discussed earlier, food insecurity, and high rates of diet-related chronic diseases. Opening a community grocery store like this will offer a positive counterpoint to these challenges. It'll support a healthy community and economic justice. For these reasons, Suncoast is uniquely positioned to make a real difference. They're going to source products from about 150 farms and small businesses across the county. And as a former business owner, this is super important to me. This initiative is an investment in equity, public health, and community resilience, and I urge you to vote yes on this. Thank you so much.
Thank you. And I'll hear from the final caller.
It's truth. Does food insecure mean bones are protruding? No, right? So is it people just needing one more meal to fill the small gap in their big stomachs? Because I've seen a lot of obese people, a ton more than 1 in 4, including the homeless, who I've seen refuse free food because they're not hungry. This program targets the working poor, and a few in government want to make sure to cover their groceries so they have more money for other wants. Is that the job of government or of every taxpaying resident? I don't support this item, but I do support food banks providing needed nutrition for our elders who often lack someone to care for them, as well as for severely underpaid active military members and neglected veterans. I'm aware of the future Suncoast Market, and I was looking forward to it. However, the Davis-based California Center for Cooperative Development does not represent IB residents as claimed. No to giving them $250,000 to set up shop when they should already have done that with their own money. Why should county residents pay for their salaries so they can operate as a private business? Why didn't they apply for a county grant like everybody else? And remember, there's no money for air purifiers. Make it make sense.
Thank you. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, Supervisor Jim Desmond.
Thank you. I had a couple of questions. I'm not sure if it's who to direct this to, or maybe the co-op people. Is this California Center for Co-op Development, is it a 501c3? Yes, it is. I guess I have some sort of a hesitation on this, or just a question, because the funding source really is general purpose revenue. I understand it's coming through the Office of Sustainability and Environmental Justice, but if they don't use those dollars, it goes to general purpose revenue. So this eventually, it says even in the fiscal impact, after going through all this stuff about the department, it is general purpose revenue. And normally to our 501c3s, That's what our CE and NRP dollars are for. And I get it, there's no District 1 county supervisor there, but I'm a bit wary, I'm with number one. Number two, I'm fine with the money going to the food bank, because they are going to spend it on food. But I'm curious about the inventory, salaries, and marketing efforts of the co-op. Is that, I'd rather have the money going to food. Is this just a one-time and that's going to be enough, or are they going to be looking for other dollars for us? I would rather see the $250 going directly to food. So it doesn't say, if it says inventory, it doesn't say that's food, but salaries and marketing. I'm just wondering how much of that $250K is food.
The inventory is for food.
Can you come up? Is that all right?
Yes,
Yeah,
and while
okay.
she's coming up, just additional clarity from what my understanding is that the co-op folks, this is a 9-year effort, and if there is a certain monetary gap filled, all of their efforts will be for naught. So, and there's a deadline, there's a timing deadline to it as well, and so that is the reason for bringing it forward at this time. But yes, please, you can.
Yeah.
If it's okay with the vice chair, you can have the floor.
Okay, thank you very much. Yes, this was an urgent request. After community organizing, we're all volunteers to make this happen. We are at a point where we have been approved for a $900,000 loan to finish construction, but they wanted us to raise another $250,000 of what we need in order to open the co-op. And so the money for inventory would be for food, to bring better access to healthy food, produce.
250, how much is inventory and how much is salaries?
I think 150 is inventory. I think 80,000 or so was for salaries, and most of that is for like pre-opening, and then like the first quarter of opening for business.
So you anticipate these are one-time?
This is one-time, absolutely.
Contribution.
Right.
Because
right.
These are, hopefully in the next month or so, you're going to have a supervisor in District 1 that you can go to for CE and NRP dollars instead of general purpose dollars.
Yeah, we'll be self-sustaining after opening, so that will be good. And we'll actually be able to give funding to local organizations through a roundup at the Register program.
So as a co-op, I guess I've been to one, but I'm not really sure how it works. So I'm just wondering, where's a better bang for our buck? As if it's in the food bank, they say cuts like 50 cents a meal or something like that. It's very inexpensive. So that's like 500,000 meals for $250,000.
I'm just going to interject
here. So wait,
here.
I want to finish.
I'm just saying I don't prefer to change anything about the recommendations, just FYI.
Well, thank you very much, but I still want to be heard and and not be interrupted. Thank you. So out of this 250, you say it's going to be one time, so how does a co-op even work? I'm not really sure.
So it's a democratically it's a community-owned organization. So everybody purchases 2 shares, and then we get to vote for the board of directors. But the cooperative is open to everybody, and our mission is not to raise money for stakeholders like a typical private business would be. It's more to serve our members and serve the community. And so our goal is to bring better access to healthy food to everyone in Imperial Beach, regardless of your income. So our plan is to serve both low-income residents as well as medium income, military. We have a very diverse community.
Cheaper food? I'm just kind of curious.
We'll have, we're going to have a range of food. So we're called a hybrid food. So we're going to have more natural organic food, more locally sourced food, as well as conventional food at very affordable prices.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Well, thank you very much.
Sure.
And I don't appreciate the interjections of you're just not going to budge. I mean, that's not helpful. I'd like to say thank you very much. I have a better understanding. I'll be supportive. I'm just kind of curious when we're paying inventory and salaries, how that works if we can buy food instead. Thank you.
Supervisor Anderson.
I'd like to start by seconding the motion, and I want to thank my colleague, Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, for her leadership on this issue and the kind invitation to allow me to join author the board letter. We know the great work that the San Diego Food Bank does. I have the second poorest district. District 1 is the poorest district, and the service that you provide for our families and our seniors, it makes a huge difference in their lives and our community. So I'm very pleased to move forward with this. I wish there were more co-ops throughout San Diego County. I think that the work that you do is very commendable. I will be very pleased when there's a District 1 supervisor so they can use their district grants. But we actually called to see if we could do that. And turns out that the previous supervisor had spent all her money. So, but again, thank you. I wish you well. And I hope that you serve a lot of people and bring many smiles to many faces. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We have a motion on the floor by Supervisor Montgomery Steppe, a second by Supervisor Anderson. Please vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, before we move on, Andrew, I'm just trying to get a sense of remaining items for today so we can give our team some notice about closed session. So we have item 12 remaining, and then we have the fire hazard severity map item. Is that correct? And then we have a closed session and comments and our final remaining non-agenda public comment. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Okay. Let's begin with discussion item 12. We'll get some sense from Andrew about how long those items will take, and I'll let folks know about closed session momentarily. Okay. Item 12, it's approve amendments to sunset of board policies related to economic prosperity and procurement and adopt an ordinance amending Article 23 of the San Diego County Code of Administrative Ordinances related to county contracting. I now hand the floor to our county team for a presentation.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer and members of the board. On April 30 and August 27 of 2024, your board directed the CAO to expand the county's reach and update our policies and practices to increase the ability of local small businesses to participate in county contracting in alignment with the framework established in AB 2019. The county shared updates and an action plan in a memo to the board in October of 2024. Today, we're pleased to present more updates and an overview of the county's effort to enhance economic prosperity in our region by increasing opportunities for small businesses and nonprofits. Our recommended actions will reduce barriers, promote sustainability, and increase equity and access in county contracting. One of the priorities of our strategic framework is to build a more inclusive and resilient economy, one where small businesses, nonprofits, and community-based enterprises can grow and thrive. A key component of our equity initiative is to advance opportunities for economic growth and development to all individuals and the community. We're excited to demonstrate how we're accomplishing this goal by incorporating extensive community feedback into innovative programs and policy changes. The left side of this slide shows how much each of the county's 4 business groups spent on contracts. Last year, the county spent $2.2 billion, with the Health and Human Services Agency accounting for approximately half of that spending, and the other 3 business groups combined accounting for the other half. The graphic on the right provides a glimpse of our spending in various industries. For example, we spent 15% of the $2.2 billion in construction services. We have a great opportunity to leverage our spending power to strengthen the local economy and expand access for small businesses, nonprofits, and diverse suppliers. This is a snapshot of the county's buying process. The program departments identify what they need and develop the scope of work, while our policies guide the way we seek services and how vendors participate. County departments make the buying decisions and monitor the contracts. This is a whole county effort, and it is a culture change that will involve everyone. We will be implementing changes at all phases, and by updating our policies, we can increase small and local business participation. Small businesses account for roughly 98% of the businesses in San Diego County. So these enhancements have the potential to make a significant impact on our regional economy. Our effort to expand opportunities and access for small businesses and nonprofits are led by the Office of Economic Development and Government Affairs, under the leadership of EDGA's Deputy Director, Steve Lockett, who oversees the county's small business development team. I'll now turn it over to Steve to present feedback from our extensive community engagement and the policy changes that we are proposing to advance economic prosperity in our region.
Thank you, Brian. The county is using its buying power to advance economic prosperity across the region. To make sure this work reflects community priorities, we launched a multi-phase engagement effort to hear directly from those most impacted: small business owners, nonprofits, and community leaders. Nearly 400 organizations were involved in this outreach, participating in surveys, workshops, stakeholder meetings, and webinars. Reflected on their valuable feedback, we've been working to implement impactful changes. In December of 2024, the Small Business Development Unit with a dedicated small business manager was created in EDGA to serve as a liaison with the business community and our internal departments. The Small Business Unit utilized community feedback to realign the county's technical assistance contracts under the Support, Training, and Education for Procurement, or STEP program. These technical assistance programs provided by the Small Business Development Center and Apex Accelerator have been enhanced and provide workshops, one-on-one assistance, and outreach. In the summer of 2025, we will be launching 2 new pilot programs. The first is the Bonding and Underwriting Insurance for Local Development, or BUILD program, which will provide direct support and resources to small businesses to assist them with bonding and insurance. Secondly, the Compliance, Operations, and Readiness Education, or CORE program, which was developed in partnership with the Office of Labor Standards and Enforcement, will provide small businesses with expert-led administrative and bookkeeping assistance. This program aims to prevent labor violations and promote fair business practices across the county. STEP, BUILD, and CORE are the first programs in EDGA's new Business Engagement and Strategic Training, or BEST initiative, designed to help small businesses throughout their life cycle. Future endeavors under this initiative will include programs around business site ownership and succession planning. We know that there is a need to have more communication and transparency from the county. Businesses want to know what's coming, how to prepare, and how to connect to compete effectively. The county is now proactively compiling and publicly posting a list of contracts and services anticipated over the next 6 months. We are also actively partnering with the Council for Supplier Diversity and other organizations to strengthen our outreach to local businesses, especially those historically underrepresented in county contracting. These steps, along with increased communication before, during, and after the contracting process, are helping to create a more open and collaborative procurement environment. We want to encourage nonprofits to pursue opportunities to do business with the county, and we are engaging with them across multiple service sectors. Throughout our engagement process, we consistently heard that stakeholders and partners not only support, but generally value the county's efforts to become one of the most accessible and business-friendly agencies for small businesses. We are creating a communication plan that includes plain language, resources, and mechanisms for ongoing feedback. To complement this communication plan, the CAO has directed staff to develop a 30, 60, and 90-day data metric action plan with incremental steps to track the impact of these changes and ensure continuous improvement in data quality. By collecting and analyzing data such as regional small business demographics, county purchasing trends, we aim to better understand who we're reaching, how we're engaging, and where there are opportunities to improve. This includes tracking how businesses move from learning about county opportunities to ultimately securing contracts. For example, we currently collect some demographic data on the businesses that we contract with, but it is self-reported and not as complete or representative as we would like. Only about 27% of the over 1,700 vendors in our system have provided this data. Even so, the available data gives us a glimpse into who we are currently reaching. Of those who responded and chose to provide the information, 28 responded that they were women-owned, representing approximately $17.8 million worth of contracts. 32 responded that they were veteran-owned, representing approximately $3.2 million in contracts. and 59 responded that they were minority-owned businesses, representing approximately $40.2 million in contracts. While this does provide a starting point, the action plan will guide our efforts to strengthen data collection practices and expand our insights, including deeper analysis of purchasing trends, subcontracting, and P-card usage. Ultimately, this work will help us better understand who we're reaching, how we are engaging with them, and where we have opportunities to improve, tracking how businesses move from first learning about county opportunities to successfully securing contracts. We are updating the county's policies to reduce barriers, increase access, and make it easier for small and local businesses to successfully work with the county. We are expanding the definition of a small business under our Small Business Preference Program to be broader. This includes adding nonprofits, veteran-owned, and disabled veteran-owned businesses to the definition, as well as small businesses that are not yet state certified, but meet the state certification definition. These improvements allow for more small businesses to bid on county contracts. They also align with the county's efforts. They also align the county's efforts with those of AB 2019, the state's legislation to increase contracting opportunities for small disadvantaged business enterprises, or DBEs, including a 25% small business participation goal. The updated policy also prioritizes local businesses. We are increasing the small local business preference from 5% to 15%, meaning that small local businesses will have their proposed bid evaluated as if they're up to 15% cheaper, helping them better compete with larger companies. We are also looking to expand the use of simpler methods, such as RFQs instead of RFPs. RFQs typically take about half the time to complete as RFPs, making the process faster and less resource intensive for small businesses to complete. Recognizing that economic prosperity and environmental responsibility go hand in hand, updates to the environmentally preferable procurement policy provide clearer guidance for the county to select products and vendors that are environmentally responsible. I would now like to pass it back to Brian.
Thank you, Steve. As you can see in this bar graph, we are moving upwards in our spending with small and local businesses. During fiscal year 23-24, the county had an annual spend to local small businesses and nonprofit organizations of $264 million. We're beginning to see the impact of our economic prosperity initiatives like outreach and technical assistance. This data is based on self-reporting and data matching with public information. The county reached 12% towards our 25% goal after fiscal year 23-24. Next fiscal year, approximately $700 million will be available in new contracts that we will be able to apply these new policies and strategies to. For example, we've identified around 60 contracts that can be re-procured as RFQs, a simpler contracting process for various sectors. We see the greatest opportunity for facility maintenance, consulting services, and routine consumables. Additionally, moving forward, prime contractors will be required to report the amount of spending that's going out to their small local subcontractors. Having this information will further drive us to our 25% goal. In addition, we'll require prime contractors to report how they're meeting their requirements to subcontract, and we'll monitor this data. Through an expanded toolbox that includes simplified contracting practices, promoting smaller scale targeted opportunities, and working closely with departments to think more broadly and intentionally about how to structure contracts to create more inclusive opportunities, we'll create new paths for our small and local businesses. Today's recommendations are just the next step in our continued commitment to advance economic prosperity in our region. We will keep building on what we've learned by engaging with community members, small businesses, nonprofits, and partners to shape programs that remove barriers and expand access to these opportunities. If approved today and at the second reading on August 26, policy changes will go into effect on September 25th. Prior to then, our team will develop the toolbox that offers guidance for businesses and nonprofits to navigate and benefit from these enhancements. A data and metrics framework will track our progress and the impact in the local economy. The recommendations before your board today are to approve the introduction of an ordinance amending the admin code. And if approved, then at the August 26th meeting, adopt the ordinance, approve amendments to and sunsetting of several board policies, and direct an annual report back on our outcomes. This concludes our presentation, and staff are available for any questions.
Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
We can go to public comment first, and then I'll come back around.
Okay, great. So we'll start with public comment, and then we'll go to board discussion.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 10 requests to speak on this item, 5 in person and 5 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 1 e-comment in opposition. For any individuals that requested to speak on item 12 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it is your turn to speak at the podium. Because there are 10 or more speakers on this item, you'll have 1 minute to address the board, and I'll ask you to begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the first 3 individuals, Consuelo, allegedly Audra, and Mark. I'll call your name, please come forward.
Mark, first of all, why only 25% for small businesses? And also, you're leaning toward businesses that do Agenda 21 type goals. Like, for instance, you mentioned environmentally friendly. Which means, of course, that, for instance, the trash fee that just got done now, this is just an example, it's a big company, but I just found out yesterday that the leader of that, of Republic Services, I think it is, that does the trash trucks, wants electric trucks. So we're gonna all have to pay for him to have a fleet, what's that, like 3 times the cost of a regular truck? This is the kind of shit, except on a smaller level. So, for instance, if your hot dog stand, I guess, uses a gas burner instead of electric, you won't be chosen. This is really evil because you can see Judith Curry on YouTube talking about how climate change is bullshit. And also equality of outcome versus equality of opportunity.
Thank you. Thank you. Your time is up. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. It's so funny the way you guys do stuff. We're going to expand the definition of a small business, just like we did with women, right? Because now men can be women. How cool is that? Maybe a big business can be a small business. Who knows, right? As long as we redefine stuff. Oh, and have NGOs self-report their data. I mean, you know, what a great way to collect data when people are going to tell you what they did. And these nonprofits, it's funny because not only did they benefit and profit off the backs of the people coming across the border, they get a profit off of them being deported, right? It's like, as long as you just, you know, kind of redefine what you do, we'll just continue to give you money. It's great to see how this works and just how you guys contract with pedophiles as well, you know, for like the Polensky Center and stuff. So, I mean, you guys definitely can be trusted with people's money and just their livelihoods. Good job. Pure evil.
So next speaker is coming forward. I'd like to invite the remaining speakers in person, Marco Espinosa and David Nelson.
Okay, Consuelo. So this county spends $2 billion a year on contracts, and most of it goes to players who are in lockstep with the UN agenda. These aren't just, unbeknownst to them, or possibly they do know, but these aren't just contracts, they're tools of control, quiet deals, closed doors, and the public doesn't find out until it's already done. So I think AB 2019 now requires a small business liaison to enforce an equity action plan, but all it does is codify a quote that looks fair on page, but favors pre-selected insiders who move the globalist agenda forward. This isn't about equity, it's about access, and the people don't have it. You're not building opportunity, you're building control, one contract at a time. So sad.
Wake up, San Diego.
Next speaker, please.
Marco Espinoza. Online I had put neutral just because I wasn't really sure what this is. And listening to it being described, though I was a little distracted from people talking in front of me. I like it, so yes, please, thank you. I get that.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. My name is David Nelson from Sacramento. I was actually here last April of 2024 when this item first came up, and I'm really excited about this day. I especially want to thank the leadership of Supervisor Montgomery Stepp for bringing originally this item forward. I have the unique perspective of being the one who wrote Assembly Bill 2019, the statewide equity action plan and procurement. And the vision was always this day, in that jurisdictions would take that as a statewide framework to implement on a local level. Currently, the state is already at a 66% achievement rate, and small business goals have exceeded by 28% in most state departments. I'm very impressed with the leadership in the county and the work by staff, especially Steve Lockett, and to fine-tune the details on this policy. And again, I appreciate the support of the supervisors in enabling small business to access the procurement pipeline to expand their business and to support the community. Thank you.
Thank you. Now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We will start with our first caller.
Whoopee! The bill's author promotes its success with only 66% of small business. But anyway, with an unresolved reserve deficit and budgetary funding shortfalls, or even clawbacks expected, there's not a good time to spend an estimated $1.3 million on expanding board policy A53. And the 25% increase the Director of Purchasing and Contracting can make without your permission under Attachment B, San Diego County Code Section 401C, is too much. There needs to be a dollar limit as well as the percentage. Furthermore, there are way too many exceptions from competitive procurement in policy A87 attachment C, procedure.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Thank you. Good afternoon, Board. This is Kathleen Lippick. Local governments need to stay out of the business of joining drug dealers in the singular goal of profits. Local governments should be prohibited from collecting tax revenues on industries that profit from addiction. The inherent conflicts of interest result in the intentional blindness to industry harms that we have seen ever since the county began its collaboration with the marijuana industry. Regulatory strategies intended to control the marijuana industry do not, once theirs have been successfully lobbied at public electeds. Instead, regulatory strategies are manipulated to their advantage. The public believes more research would help, but without narrow guidelines for what that research looks like, it can look exactly like the county's social equity entrepreneur program, where research grant funding of another $30 million after previous grants of $50 million will be used for consumer preferences, marijuana.
Thank you. Hear from the next caller.
Apparently none of you guys want to go ahead and address the 5 million possible fraudulent ballots that got Governor Newsom elected. Kept him in spot. So I have two different actions I could go ahead and take. I could go ahead and mirror what actions took place against Michael Vu, resulting in people going to jail. You could go ahead and take a look at it. It was actually a person going after him, not the county saying that he was doing it. Let's versus Michael Vu. It will be me versus Michael Vu and the county, basically using those same premises. Or I could just do a bunch of billboards right before the next 2022 election. You're running for Congress, basically pointing out the fact that Jim, you love the fact that the county did not research that possible fraudulent ballot, the possible 5 million ballots that saved him and stopped us.
Thank you. For the record, that speaker was Gambler Hermes. We'll hear from the next caller.
It's truth, a data metric action plan. Whoa, Tara's going to be able to get off hinge with that kind of temptation. Why did it take you guys almost a year to finally introduce an item to help small businesses? The county received feedback from 400 organizations. That's barely any for a business population of at least hundreds of thousands. And organizations are not necessarily small businesses. How many were chambers of commerce versus government-funded, politically motivated nonprofits? How lawful is AB 2019? It's giving increased access to procurement opportunities only to the state's favored groups, which violates Title VI, equal opportunity, and federal law. Who would identify as a woman-owned business if it meant more money? Economic equity is a bunch of nonsense where government pretends to care about their favored groups at the expense of the rest. It's nothing more than socialist redistribution of wealth with a colorful mask. If any of you supervisors really want economic equity, donate your paychecks to the real working class. Become a real public servant. And ask a veteran about what public service actually looks like. That's who the state does not favor. It's at the bottom of the list.
Thank you. Now hear from the final caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. Ann Riddle here. I came to support item 12. I like the idea that the county contracting system be expanded to be more sensitive to small businesses, particularly small nonprofits. I have a lot of small nonprofits up here in the North County and Northeast County who do extraordinary community-based work. Alcohol, tobacco, marijuana prevention, and they have been told that there's only one per each large area and that they are not allowed to compete for this money that the county receives from the feds to do prevention. To open that up to the small nonprofits that actually serve the people, close to the people, who know the school districts and know the parent organizations where prevention information can be disseminated more quickly, more clearly, more correctly, and over a longer period of time would be a gift to all. Thank you for adding this to agenda item 12. This is significant. It could.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. That concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, Supervisor Montgomery Stepp.
Thank you very much. Thank you so much for the presentation and for the work and coming back in part to in response to my board letter from August 27th. I appreciate that. And I want to go over just briefly what is in line with AB 219 and then some of the things I think looking ahead we can work on in the future and then offer a motion for this body. So in line with AB 219, this action simplifies the procurement process and expands the definition of small business to increase opportunities for small businesses, bringing us closer to that 25% annual procurement spending with local small businesses, which I think is a big deal. And then in response to the April board letter, veteran-owned businesses and disabled veteran businesses are now included in that small business definition. And additionally in response to the August letter, nonprofits are now also included in that definition of small business. So those are all good things and certainly shows that we're moving forward. There's a couple things that are not yet aligned with AB 219. I just want to call those out. So AB 219 requires that the Office of Small Business make available the option for applicants to voluntarily identify that the business is at least 51% owned by and whose management or daily operations are controlled by individuals, women, people of color, or LGBTQ. We don't have that provision in what is before us currently. Also, AB 219 requires that the small business advocate prepare and submit a written annual report that includes the details regarding the Office of Small Business Advocates activities to support procurement participation by small businesses, micro businesses, disabled veteran business enterprises, business that are owned by women, minorities, and members of the LGBTQ plus community. I don't see a provision in here for the annual reporting in that vein. I do see a recommendation here for the report back on progress. So I didn't know if you all were seeing those things as similar or not, but as we move forward, I just want to give more detail around that and detail around the Economic Equity First Action Plan that AB 219 calls out for as well. But I will say I am glad we're here, and we will use this to continue to build off of. So with that, I want to move forward with making a motion to approve the recommendations that are here, but also to add to the board policy B53 language under the definition for small business when it returns to the board for consideration on August 26th. And that is to add a provision that calls out specifically the DBE definition per the Code of Federal 49 CFR, or Code of Federal Regulations, Part 26. So it would read, Section F qualifies as a disadvantaged business enterprise, or DBE, and meets one of the small business definitions above, and it would call out A through E. It's just an additional definition that placed in that board policy to further specify what we're calling a small business for the county's purposes of more clearly defining that. So I would like to put that forward, and just want to reiterate my commitment to being creative and partnering with the small business community. As you indicated, it's such a large part of our economy, and I certainly think that the procurement dollars that we spend as a county, we should be much more dedicated to our small business and small nonprofit communities. And I look forward to staff coming back to this board with some of the additional language and things that we have talked about. So we'll put that on the floor, and thank you very much for the time.
Supervisor Desmond.
Thank you, and thanks for the report. I'm all in favor of supporting small businesses and making sure, local small businesses are supported. But I do want to, I've already talked to Brian about this and to our attorney, I want to make sure that we are also being smart in our own contracting. I don't want to just go with a small business for the sake of going to a small business. If we can do it in-house a little bit more efficiently or quicker or better, that we should do that. My office, we've been hearing from a car dealership in Kearney Mesa that we hired a small business to go and purchase 5 vehicles, and unfortunately the person we hired skipped town with the money. And so we've got somebody out, and it just the first thing that came to my mind was, well, why, if there was in Kearney Mesa and we got the COC up there, why are we hiring someone to go buy 5 vehicles? Maybe that's a standard practice, but to me it sounds like it could have been done in-house a little more efficiently. So I'm all in favor of using small businesses where we can, but if it's more efficient to just do some things in-house, that we take that into account as well. Thank you.
Any other comments? I'll just take a moment. I think this is a definite step in the right direction. I appreciated the trend graph that showed that we are already moving in the right direction. I think this policy makes a lot of sense. I think we have a lot more work to do on our procurement and contracting policies more generally, but this is really important. When we're, thinking about all of these contracts in our community, it is really important that we're thinking about leveling the playing field and creating opportunities for local small businesses. So, and I'm happy to, I don't think we have a second, so I'm happy to be a second on this item. And we have a motion and a second. Please vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you to the team. We now move on to discussion item FP01, Notice of Public Hearing and Ordinance to Adopt the Local Responsibility Areas Fire Hazard Severity Zone Map. We will start with public comment.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 8 requests to speak on this item, 4 in person and 4 requesting to speak by phone. Also note for the record that we received 1 e-comment in support. For any individuals that requested to speak on Fire Protection District Item 1 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. As your name is called, please come forward and stand on the arrows until it's your turn to speak at the podium. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to begin by stating your name for the audio record. I'd like to invite forward the following speakers: Consuelo, allegedly Audra, Mark, and Marco Espinosa. If I've called your name, please come forward in any order.
While I haven't had a lot of time to look at your map, I definitely disagree with them getting rid of the fire station up in Del Mar, around Del Mar Heights, and there's something out east that they're far away from now, and we'll get a delayed time on. The other thing, of course, is that no matter what you do with your fire department or your zoning, you're ignoring the simple fact that if you were in a court of law, they would want to know who has the motive. That it's already admitted by Smithsonian Magazine and many other reputable sources that 85% of the fires are caused by humans setting them. Now, some of them, like it always used to be with a campfire, is just somebody accidentally doing it. But ignoring the fact that the United Nations, who has the most money in the world, the globalists who own the corporations of the World Economic Forum, I should say, who want people out of the rural areas, and also probably have a lot of stock in the insurance companies, to ignore the fact that they have all the money and means and an incredible motive for paying people to set fires. Their insurance rates will go up, their companies will make more, and they'll get people out of the rural areas, which is exactly what they say they want. If you were in a court of law, this would be what you would look at, is your motive, your opportunity, and means. And they have all of that in spades. So you're not going to stop the fires until you look at that. There's no one else that has anywhere near the motive of that. And what's their motive? Well, if they succeed, they'll have their 15-minute cities, they'll have greater control, we won't have mobility or any way to respond and be free, and they'll have a global corporatocracy owning everything that we buy globally. And that is their goal, without any American freedoms, as they see us just go bankrupt with the Federal Reserve. Very convenient for them.
Thank you. Can you please state your name for the record? For the record, the speaker is Mark. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. I mean, it sounds nice for you guys to want to, combat fires and, make sure that we're letting people know that everywhere in San Diego is a high fire zone. So let's build densely in those areas, get everybody out of the unincorporated area, because we can't have people be self-sustaining. That's not how you control people, right, Tara? I mean, you can't do that if they're out in the middle of nowhere, like growing their own food and not on the toxic water system that we got to give everybody. Might as well just, have our own little filters from our butt to our mouths to give us our own, sewage back, because that would be sustainable. But it's just interesting that we don't ever want to talk about, chemtrails, things like that, right? Because, I mean, people make money off of that, and it's poisoning the people and keeping them super docile, right? So they just, think that you guys are here to help them, right? I mean, as long as they believe that and they don't understand that you are totally toxifying everything about their body and, just promoting injecting them with, not only fetal cells, all those babies we rip apart limb by limb, putting it into the people because it makes you real healthy, and all of that nanothermite that's being sprayed upon us. I mean, that has nothing to do with fires. Those are contrails, right, Jim? Not chemtrails, because chemtrails don't exist. Or we spray people with even human DNA. It's pretty cool. But, you know, that's all just propaganda. I mean, we're doing what's right for the people. We're not going to tell them that we're going to poison them in the process. But it's cool because we have a program to give them when they're, you know, incompetent and need your help. So, Ebony, how does it feel to get almost $100,000 more dollars? Good for you.
Next speaker, please.
Marco Espinoza, yes, have the public hearing for those zones. Thank you. I yield back.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Talk shit online, that's why you yield back. Drunk zombie. Shit talker.
Can we please pause time?
Sure. Go ahead.
Claudia, could you please remind the Board of the rules regarding
I wasn't at the podium yet to speak. I was coming up.
Can you please, this is your first warning. This is your first warning. I'm asking you to be quiet. I have a question for County Council. If you continue talking, then I'm going to have to ask you to yield your time. Please pause. Claudia, do you need a moment?
What was it? I'm sorry.
Just to remind us of the rules regarding profanity in the board chamber.
Sure. Let me pull it up from the rules real quick so I can read it.
Go ahead, Consuelo, with your time, and Claudia will answer my question when you're done. Thank you.
Speak what I will. Gosh, I feel so... I was supposed to come in here today, you know? I was wondering who Drunk Zombie was, but now I know. It's the guy that has nothing to say at the podium, but has a shitload to talk about. Oops. But shit is not that bad, right? Poop load, emoji. Interesting. You know what? I'm done.
Okay, thank you very much. Claudia, go ahead.
Vice Chair, in Rule 4D2, each person who addresses the Board of Supervisors shall not use loud, shouting, threatening, impertinent, slanderous, profane, or abusive language to any member of the board, staff, or the general public. The chairperson may, at the chairperson's option, state to the person who has used such language that such language is unwanted, unwelcome, inappropriate, and interferes with the ability of those present to listen and understand.
Okay, Claudia, Consuelo, that is, you already had one warning. You are now shouting, so please leave the chamber. You're being disruptive to the proceedings.
And the rest of the paragraph finishes, the speaker's time will be held during the chairperson's statement, and the speaker will receive their full allotment of the time unless the speaker is sanctioned under Rule 4H in a manner that results in the speaker not receiving their full allotment of time.
Okay, thank you very much. Can you please call the next speaker?
Thank you. We'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Yes, hi. Good job to County Fire on controlling the majority, and let me emphasize the majority of our most recent wildfires. Actually, this looks a lot like the map I sent to County Fire a while back when it was first released, actually. So I'm glad you approve. Now, there seems to be some weird stuff going on with free speech. I mean, you know, warning someone about free speech long after the speech has stopped. I mean, it sounds kind of counterproductive. And I really wish you wouldn't do that to anyone. Now, on the other hand, there are some people who have a problem restraining themselves even on the diet. So, you know, I'd appreciate that. You know, disciplining people with an even hand, preventing like union members from chanting and interrupting the proceedings for, you know, a fairly lengthy time, actually. That is actually a bigger interruption than anything else I've heard. So, you know, it goes all ways, left, right, up, down. I mean, you know, I'd really appreciate if you look at...
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller. And it looks like that caller dropped off. Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes public comment on this item.
Okay, thank you very much. Any comments or questions from my colleagues?
I'll move the item.
We have a motion by Supervisor Montgomery Stepp, a second by Supervisor Anderson. Please vote.
Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that motion passes unanimously with all supervisors being present and voting aye.
Okay, thank you. At every meeting, board members have an opportunity to provide committee report backs. Do any of my colleagues have anything to share? Okay, then we will do closed session comment and non-agenda public comment, and then we'll go to closed session today. Okay? Please call the speakers for closed session and then for non-agenda.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lawson-Remer. We have 7 requests to speak on items on the closed session agenda, 5 in person and 2 requesting to speak by phone. As a reminder, item 13 on today's session agenda are the closed session matters, and there are 5 matters listed. Individuals that requested to speak must provide comments related to those matters that are listed. Any individuals that requested to speak on item 13 by phone, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. I'd like to invite forward Ray Whitmer, allegedly Audra, Mark, and Marco Espinosa. You will have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please state your name for the audio record. 2 minutes.
Great. Thank you, members of the Board of Supervisors. I'm Ray Whitmer, Chief Negotiator for Teamsters Local 986, representing your skilled trades and maintenance workers in the CM and CR units here with the county. We reached an overall tentative agreement last Wednesday evening. That tentative agreement is subject to your review in closed session today under 13E. We want you to know that this tentative agreement does some very important things for these 2 working groups. These are the folks that do your repair and maintain your county infrastructure and facilities. Some of the major issues address recruitment and retention. As you know, in one of these 2 units, we have the highest vacancy rate in the county. We believe that this tentative agreement will assist the county in its recruitment efforts to fill those critical positions and also result in better retention within these 2 units. In addition, it does something very, very important that you may not fully understand, but I think your team can explain it to you today. It right-sizes our salary schedule, which is something that has been about 8 years in the making. Under our representation, we were able to work with the county to finally achieve that over these next 3 years. It's very, very important, and it will also help in recruitment and retention in these 2 bargaining units. In addition, it addresses concerns that we have on premium pays, overtime work, or what we call non-productive work that impacts overtime, as well as Class A work. We worked hard with your team. I want to thank Susan, Clint, Ken, Leanne, and the rest of your bargaining committee. We spent countless hours on these negotiations. These were our first negotiations. They did a great job. It was collaborative, and we just asked for your support.
Thank you. Thank you. Next speaker, please.
Mark, well, I've told you guys that you're obviously totally negligent. You've committed corporate breach of duty, malfeasance. It's intentional. I pointed out before the meeting where Jim literally had an agenda item about making the core functions a priority, which you guys literally said you won't do. You voted against that. It's actually one of your main duties as a supervisor. If you go look up supervisor of a state or of California, main duties, that's what it'll say, right up near the top. So you didn't budget for a lot of the stuff that we need. And you budgeted for things that we don't need, like helping illegal aliens. And I have nothing against people who want to come here. But the fact is, it's illegal. And to actually incite them to come by giving them benefits that none of the citizens get. The veterans don't even get it. They were getting free hotels, free room service, free laundry. It's free travel. It's just unbelievable what was given to them. Free medical. And of course, I mean, who isn't going to come? And one thing even the nicest one among them share in common is they don't want us to have a border. Well, you can't have a country without a border. And every one of them will get rid of it that came here if they could, because they're here illegally and they don't like the border, of course. I don't blame them, but it's not in our interest. So, as a country with our values. So anyway, it doesn't matter. You guys aren't going to be sued personally, and you know that. You'll be sued in your official capacity, which means nothing will ever happen to you, except maybe you won't be reelected, or maybe you'll be recalled. People should really pay attention to the fact that these people can do any evil thing that destroys your county, and nothing will ever happen to them. That's got to change.
Thank you. Next speaker, please.
My person uses the name Audra. We have a county council who doesn't know what free speech is, along with all of you guys. You cannot infringe, encroach, determine arbitrarily what free speech. If I want to say fuck you, I can. Yeah. I mean, that's free speech. So for her to sit here and get paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to tell you guys to shut us up is actually putting you up for litigation to come down the pipe. And it should be at a personal capacity. And the fact that you refused to even tell the board what they were doing with the illegal invasion was illegal. And now there's consequences for coming down from the federal government because of it. I mean, it's kind of funny because I told you guys about the dog tag that I found in San Ysidro from a Muslim soldier, and now we're potentially going to war with Iran, right? We aren't. There may be sleeper cells in America, as you know, one of the leaders of Al Qaeda was telling us, you don't know who I am, but you will know soon, right? And if you guys, when we have chaos happening within our nation, it's your guys' fault because you incentivized it, you encouraged it, you begged these people to come saying like, just pretend you're seeking asylum and go and like pay the cartel to come across because you're like worried about your safety. So let's have you be raped along the way and then have like, you know, just in Hakamba, Joel, right? Those rape trees, how cool was that? It's cool, you know, children and women, men raped, but that's okay. Nothing to see here, and no concerns about what's going to happen when these sleeper cells wake up and say, fuck you to America. Thank you guys for doing that. You're so great. Glad we're paying you hundreds of thousands of dollars.
Thank you. Next speaker, please. Final call for Marco Espinosa. Thank you. We'll now hear from the individuals that requested to speak by phone. We'll start with our first caller.
Paula Bold, is this item 13 or non-agenda?
This is closed session matters, item 13.
Okay. So you still haven't put the case summary into an editable file per the Brown Act? And I'd appreciate a 10-word summary of the case.
Pause the speaker's time. Consuelo, you were asked to leave the meeting for the remainder of the meeting.
No, other people curse you, hypocrite. Other people curse, what?
It's not the cursing per se.
Are you threatened by the truth that I speak?
It is the disruption of the meeting. This is your second. You already had one warning. You were asked to leave. Please leave. Please, Consuelo. There's no need for this. We're almost done with our meeting. How many speakers do we have?
That was very selective. That was beyond selective. You have people talking shit. I could address them. That's my freedom of speech. You're not going to arrest me. Why? For what? For the hypocrisy? For standing up?
I want to be clear. You've been asked to leave the meeting for being disruptive to this meeting. Please leave the meeting.
So sick of your fake ass.
That's against the First Amendment.
Okay, please continue the speaker's time.
Thank you. Paul, you have 1 minute and 40 seconds remaining. Please go ahead.
Let's see, where was I? I see 3 cases which should have been settled. One where the county should butt out and union cripple. Anthony Avila, it's a tragic case where a boy was tortured and killed, but it seems to have happened and been adjudicated in LA, so not sure why San Diego's involved. The case has been around since 2022. It should be settled by now. XHR is challenging property tax for a hotel in Carlsbad in 2023. Surprised it's taking so long. Castañares versus SD, shame, shame. The sheriff should release records pertaining to public matters. Should be settled. Not sure why you're discussing case involving SD Public Library Foundation versus Diana Fuentes, since neither is a county, and there's nothing to indicate why this is not a waste of your time and our money. Now, I see the union is still badgering you. It should be ashamed. And, Polinsky Center, you need to fess up to some of those cases. Most of them you're at fault, and you ought to settle those right away, too. I really hope the crimes and abuses there don't keep tourists away. Maybe we can turn it into a haunted horror house. Old Town, Balboa, Kearney Mesa. Let's start a network. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the remaining individuals that requested to speak on matters not listed on the agenda. We have 10 requests to speak, remaining requests, 4 in person and 6 requesting to speak by phone. For those that requested to speak by phone on items not on the agenda, please dial into the conference line using the instructions that were provided to you. We'll begin with the in-person speakers. I'd like to invite forward allegedly Audra, Mark, Michael Brando, and Ray Whitmer. If I've called your name, please come forward. You'll have 2 minutes to address the board. I'll ask you to please begin by stating your name for the audio record. Okay, final call for Mark, Michael Brando, Ray Whitmer. Not seeing any movement in the chamber, and we'll now hear from those that requested to speak by phone. We will start with our first caller.
Next technique all you will need is a chair or a bench and a roll top.
Next caller is Kelly McCormick.
Hello, this is Kelly McCormick. San Diego County's marijuana industry is causing harm while seeking favors to prop up a struggling industry, lower taxes, for example. Newsweek recently published an article entitled, "America's Marijuana Legalization Experiment is Going Up in Smoke." Businesses are tanking because they cannot compete with the illicit market. It's not even close. Sales in the regulated industry have dropped, and so have tax revenues. Tax money was the selling point for regulations, but that looks more like a bait and switch. Tax money is shrinking and costs to taxpayers are rising for hospital emergency departments, first responders, mental health care providers, addiction treatment services, and more. The organization Getting It Right from the Start from the Public Health Institute reports that daily use of marijuana in California has tripled over the past decade. Daily use is a sign of cannabis use disorder. Use during pregnancy has doubled, putting developing babies at risk for severe complications. Studies demonstrate links between marijuana use and psychosis, schizophrenia, depression, anxiety, paranoia, and suicide. For young users, studies also show problems with memory, cognition, and brain growth due to marijuana use. It's time to admit that this experiment with the marijuana industry has been a failure for public health and for fiscal common sense. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors. Ann Riddle. I came because I wanted to share with you that on Thursday, this is International Day Against Drug Abuse and Illicit Trafficking. It was brought to us by a proclamation from the General Assembly of the United Nations about 40 years ago. They did so because they realized that the impact of drugs is far-reaching and complex, and that it touches the lives of millions of people worldwide. It seems particularly applicable since the San Diego sector of the Border Patrol put out a press release just a few days ago about the uncompleted narcotic smuggling tunnel that ran from Tijuana residents under Otay Mesa and the border crossing into San Diego, and it ran for about 1,000 feet. This was a heavily sophisticated enterprise, this tunnel, and had electrical wiring and lighting and ventilation. This is an example of how aggressive is the illegal transactions regarding drugs here in between the two countries of Mexico and San Diego. And it's important to remember that we've found 95 tunnels between the two countries over the last several decades. This is just a good reminder that illegal smuggling, be it humans, drugs, or other contraband, are something that requires our high alert as we look at how we spend our money and make decisions. And we need to also realize how much profit margin that there is in drugs, something that is never going to go away. Thank you for letting me share this information.
Thank you. We'll now hear from the next caller.
No coincidences, it's truth. At the June 9th meeting, Joel claimed that nobody's ever thanked him for his work. First, that's not true. A few months back, I actually thanked Joel for calling out the political elephant in the room at the time, which was SEIU. Joel, maybe you should get off your stupid phone for once and actually listen to public comment if you're that desperate for an occasional thanks for nothing. Second, why should anyone thank a failed servant? I was told it's Junkyard Joel, always looking for a deal from a steal, free money. And TDS Terra claimed things will hopefully be normal in 3 years. Weren't you one of the people here who kept voting for a new normal? Now you're complaining about it. Terra's TDS and amnesia are both off the charts. And two crazy things said today. Joel claimed Nora spent all of the community enhancement and neighborhood reinvestment tax dollars before she fled. Jim seemed to claim that the county gave a contract to a car company who took our tax dollars and fled. Was there any accountability for that? Next, some in the government media love to accuse Iran of all kinds of craziness that no one can actually touch or see. But what about the country that has very visibly been our adversary for decades? Does anyone remember the tourists from San Diego that went to visit Mexico and ended up decapitated? That's happened countless times with not a single sanction. How about how Mexico's polluted our country and made our people sick for 90 years with their toxic raw sewage? No condemnation. How about the poor street cart vendor slaves that sell food in the gas lamp in order to pay back the cartel for smuggling them in? How about the cartel buying and renting homes in National City and Chula Vista for crimes like human trafficking? What about the countless tunnels to have deadly drugs flow in for profit? And how about the slow but steady infiltration of our local government? by the facts rather than propaganda. The cartel-run Mexican government is the country we should actually be at war with. Is that controversial to stand against those who harm our country? The real enemies are always closer to home than as advertised. Hence why I speak here, where even the basic constitutional right to free speech is being threatened by TDS Tara, who seems to believe that she is a clown king of this board. Down with all clown kings in this county, including Sean A. Rivera and Henry Foster. All clowns.
Thank you. Now hear from the next caller.
Good afternoon, Board of Supervisors, Chair Lawson Remer. My name is Terry Ann Skelly, and I attend my county planning group, and I'm a community volunteer who has worked in youth programs for decades. I've been sharing with you in the past meetings the research over the last 5 years, which increasingly illustrates the strong correlation between mental health issues and adolescents' use of marijuana. A recent analysis of medical records of over 95,000 Northern California adolescents in the Kaiser Permanente medical care system indicated a correlation between having marijuana storefronts in town and the presence of medical diagnoses of psychotic, anxiety, and depressive disorders. Specifically, this research has found that prohibiting storefront cannabis shops was linked to about half the rate of psychotic disorders in teens compared with teens with pot shops nearby. Since we already have 5 marijuana storefronts throughout our backcountry, perhaps we need to recognize this association between their presence and teen mental health issues. The journey into adulthood with its education and economic demands is difficult at best. To burden them with intellectual and emotional challenges brought on by the sale of and promotion of marijuana products is just plain cruel. Now is the time to decrease their influence in our county through billboards and advertising and seek more enforcement against illegal marijuana delivery services and not increase the number of pot shops in the unincorporated county neighborhoods. Thank you for hearing my concerns this afternoon.
Thank you. Now I'll call for the final speaker in person, Mark.
Right here.
Look over, it's on the, oh, look at it. It's got to be right there in that corner.
Oh my gosh, your time started.
Let me make sure the volume's up.
Systems are a form of slavery.
Okay.
Lead to this.
Okay.
Hurry up, you're wasting time.
Okay.
Push play. It's not in the way.
Mark, peace, not violence. Everyone see these YouTube video titles to understand how you are enslaved. See these Mark Passio YouTube videos to become free. All political systems are a form of slavery and lead to the same place, control of and taking of your private property. Slavery can only end when everyone knows and accepts natural law, which is, any action that harms another is wrong. Any action that does not harm anyone is right, a right you can choose. All people are sovereign, meaning no one has the right to rule over you. Congress's only duty was to protect your rights and defend us. They've been completely corrupted. Society and universities have indoctrinated you with a false mindset, which has 4 tenets. 1, self-preservation and comfort above all else. 2, moral relativism. There is no actual right or wrong. 3, smarter people have the right to rule over others. 4, those who are smarter can choose who lives and dies. Government is based on violence and coercion, which is against natural law and enslaved us. In every agenda item, these supervisors control and steal our property rights with grants for ordinances, fees, permits, cameras, AI, and false solutions that make a small group rich while implementing a United Nations Agenda 21 global control system to enslave us all forever. Republican and Democrat is a false paradigm to keep us at each other's throats as both sides tighten control, leading to taking all private property. Property. All rights are property rights. Your body, your will, your possessions. The United Nations and the World
Thank you. And Vice Chair Lawson-Remer, that concludes a request for non-agenda public communication this afternoon.
Okay, thank you very much. We now have an adjournment in memory. Supervisor Desmond.
You didn't give me my 2 minutes.
Thank you.
No, not thank you. You didn't give me my 2 minutes. I'm not thanking you for it. You're not thanking me. I get 2 minutes. It's 2 minutes long. I haven't measured, and you didn't give me that. Such constant bullshit, man.
Okay, thank you very much, Madam Vice Chair. Appreciate it. I have an adjournment in memory of Vera Pauline Eubank. Vera Pauline Eubank lived an extraordinary life spanning 102 years. It was marked by music, service, family, and community. She was born in 1922 in Hollywood, California, and she discovered a lifelong passion for music. Graduating from UCLA as a music major, she became first chair violinist and then later a dedicated music teacher. During World War II, she uplifted wounded soldiers through her quartet, the Harmonettes, unknowingly pioneering aspects of modern music therapy. She met her husband, Jim Eubanks, a former elite OSS frogman during World War II at a USO event. Together they raised a family, lived adventurously, and always gave back to their community. Vera and Jim revitalized San Marcos by launching the Old California Restaurant Row, growing it into a major North County San Diego attraction with 18 restaurants. Vera was a devoted volunteer, especially passionate about supporting education at Palomar College. Her life was filled with joy, resilience, and generosity. She leaves behind a legacy of compassion and inspiration, survived by her sons, Jerry and Bob, and their spouses and her grandchildren. Vera's memory lives on in all who were touched by her grace and strength. A long life lived well. Rest in peace, Vera.
Okay, thank you very much. This meeting is now adjourned till tomorrow morning. We'll take about a 15-minute break and then we'll go to closed session. Thank you.
The board will now recess into closed session to consider those matters listed under item 13 on today's session agenda. If there are any reportable actions, it will be reported out during the land use session of this meeting tomorrow, June 25th at 9 a.m.